Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if, Houou Naruto was adopted by Tsunade, and lives with two medic needs, part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Funkmaster Joe, link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. Let's begin the video. Jiraiya, one of the great Sanins, looked upon his only student, a man whom he could almost proudly call a son. Minato, you've done it? The old hermit asked, dreading either a positive or negative response for separate reasons. Yes, Ero-sensei the mighty Hokage couldn't help but grin, referring to his teacher by his favorite nickname one last time. It's done. Jiraiya's eyes pooled with sadness, as he caught a glimpse of the shadowy figure hovering patiently behind his pupil, its wretched face drawn back into an inhuman grin. For Namikaze, Minato's shadow was the shadow of death, the Shinigami, the god of death. Minato, Jiraiya started. There was so much to say, but the words froze in his throat. His pupil had made him proud beyond words every day. Did the cruelty of fate truly know no bounds? Minato reached for the bundle of cloth cradled in Jiraiya's arms. Is that him? My son. Minato even addressed the bundled child, as he felt life draining away from him. How he had dreaded this moment. I never wanted this for you. When you're born an orphan, the last thing you ever want is for your children to live that life. The pain of being alone, and watching families alive, and being happy, or angry, or sad together while you must suffer with no one to catch you when you fall. Above all, I never, ever wanted this for you. Please, please believe me. And forgive me, my one and only son. I'm so sorry. Let's begin, Jiraiya suggested, eyes closed, for he couldn't bear to see the world right now. He would only see pain, and a strong, proud man weeping for a bright future that he had worked all his life for, about to be crushed by his own two hands. The personification of death hovering behind, more substantial than ever. He felt the rain, as if the sky were crying, as well on this darkest of dark nights. Minato, the indomitable fourth Hokage who never backed down, gave up, or lost, croaked out a high, as if it had to be forcefully ripped from the depths of his soul. Life above happiness, justice above life, duty above justice. But coming from a cold and empty childhood, when Minato found he would be a father, he had put family above all. But he loved his village like family, the people who had been there to see him grow up. He was a child of Konoha, if not of anyone else that he knew, and it was for their lives, along with the life of their son, which would all be forfeit if the demon was not sealed into a proper container, that he was about to seal the worst of the demons inside his not-a-day-old child, and condemn him to a future of unknown dangers. Through the painful irony, Namikaze Minato had never felt so ashamed. Konoha General Hospital. The battle, if it could be called such, with Kyuubi no Kitsune had incurred many, many losses. An old, weary man pondered this, as he walked down the somehow pristine corridors of Konoha's General Hospital, responding to respectful, if subdued, bows and addresses of Sarutobi-sama with an empathetic look and kind smile. Sarutobi could not help but feel a deep sorrow. Many, many losses, and not all of them are physical. Spirit was at an all-time low. The crippling terror of the demon fox still lurked in the once bright eyes of men and women alike. Sarutobi sighed, but paused mid-stride, as something caught his eye beyond the glass screen on his left. Tsunade? Hello Tsunade, the old man greeted, as he entered the dimly lit, empty room. Tsunade Houou was seen sitting on a chair, holding a bundle of cloth in her arms. She looked quite comfortable, and Sarutobi could only guess just how long she had been sitting there. Hello Sarutobi-sensei. You're wearing that ugly hat again, the patron medic Nin observed. Ah yes, well, since Minato's passing it looks like I'll have to be Hokage again, for now. Sarutobi grimaced. He would gladly take up the responsibility for his village, but Minato had been the bright future of the next generation. Once again, he felt a deep sorrow for Konoha. Tsunade only grunted in response, seemingly remembering to be intensely annoyed with something. Something the matter, Tsunade? Damn right something's the matter, the blonde hissed. I found one of your medic Nins trying to kill this infant with a scalpel. And keep your voice down. I've only just gotten him to sleep. Sarutobi didn't miss how Tsunade sounded royally pissed, and vaguely disgusted at the first part, and suddenly embarrassed at that last part. But there was an assassination attempt already? By a medic no less. Tsunade opted to carefully move the cloth from the sleeping bundle in her arms, and show Sarutobi the damage. 6 black lines stretched across the infant's cheeks in a clear rendition of whiskers. Sarutobi flinched at the sight, but Tsunade pressed on. She used the solution on the scalpel to stop the blood from clotting, and another to stain the skin. Even when I heal it, it looks like a damn whisker tattoo, except I can't remove it like one. I'd be impressed if I weren't so goddamn disgusted. The reinstated Hokage, a veteran of 100 gruesome battles, suddenly felt ill. Oh Minato, Sarutobi darkly lamented under his breath. Perhaps you are better off dead. It would have only killed you 1,000 times to see your village act like this. To do this to a child, such a perversion of medical knowledge is disgusting. Tsunade looked at Sarutobi pointedly. Duly noted the dangerous look from his former pupil, Sarutobi reached into his bag of tricks and pulled out a technique he'd learned from an old friend of his who had become a successful lawyer. That is to say, he figuratively covered his ass with both hands and bent the truth until it looked like a pretzel. Of course I'll investigate it right away, Tsunade. I'm sure it's just an isolated incident. I can't imagine a citizen of Konoha doing such a spiteful thing. Though Sarutobi became gravely serious for a moment. Of course the culprit will be harshly dealt with. There were no good excuses for attempting to assassinate one of Konoha's own children in Sarutobi's books. That seemed to appease Tsunade well enough. She returned to staring intently at the sleeping babe. Is he involved in some sort of family feud? Sarutobi sighed. Truthfully, he didn't really know if this would just be an isolated incident at all. But he could hope. No. He's an orphan, I'm afraid. An orphan. Tsunade seemed to hold the child closer while trying to look like she wasn't doing anything of the sort. A fact that wasn't lost on Sarutobi. Tsunade, are you? What's his name? Tsunade interrupted. Not missing a beat, Sarutobi replied. There's a problem with his last name, but the first name is confirmed, Naruto. Naruto, Tsunade mused, testing the name on her tongue. The ramen topping? Sarutobi's sweat dropped. More like maelstrom than the ramen topping. Houou Naruto, I like it. She rocked the child slightly. Do you like it, Naruto-chan? In response, the infant yawned, which, let's face it, was the closest Tsunade was going to get to any kind of confirmation. Houou Naruto it is, then. I'll send Shizen to deal with the papers later. Mother and child. Seeing his former pupil smiling brightly down at her just-adopted son, Sarutobi was suddenly overcome with an overwhelming sense of hope for the future. It was odd how, even in the aftermath of the bleakest days, he had found such a glowing sight. He didn't know what strange twist of fate had led these two to each other, but he was grateful. No, Sarutobi shook his head. That's not necessary. I'll handle it all. He's not just a normal child after all. I'll have to deal with the council, the old man sighed. You see, he's the container. The container, Tsunade echoed. Then, as realization struck, she pulled the cloth around Naruto's stomach away, revealing Minato's seal. Tsunade frowned softly at it, and did something a little unexpected. She didn't care at all. My poor Naruto caressed his hair consolingly. Not even in Konoha for a day, and you're already in danger. I'm getting you out of here. She'd lost her husband and brother in Konoha. She'd be damned if she'd lose her newly adopted son here to some vengeful villager with a sharp object. Sarutobi flinched, acutely aware of Tsunade's current views on Konoha in respect to her loved ones. It was then that the old man came to a sudden realization. Tsunade, did you say you healed the child's wounds? I did heal him, but I didn't say anything about it. Tsunade informed me. But your hemophobia? Sarutobi trailed off, referring to Tsunade's incapacitating fear of blood. Could it be? Tsunade stiffened reflexively at the mention of her condition. Well, I couldn't just let him bleed to death. It was true. Something about the kid made her want to viciously guard him from danger. Sarutobi looked quite surprised. Then she was cured? She was cured. I hear that the operation rooms are swamped, he hinted hopefully. Being a Hokage was more than a job, it was a lifestyle. Tsunade narrowed her eyes on her old sensei. For old time's sake? Sarutobi hazarded. I've been working all morning for old time's sake. I'm getting Naruto out of here. Now, Sarutobi didn't give up. But this is still the place that Naruto's father built his legacy, he reminded the headstrong woman. He may want to visit here someday. And Konoha would forever be in your debt. Tsunade paused halfway out the door. That was true. If Naruto ever wanted something from Konoha, it might be good to have some swing here. She looked at the precious bundle in her arms, sighed, kissed him on the forehead, and gently handed him over to Sarutobi. If he gets hurt at all, Sarutobi-sensei, I'll kick you where the sun doesn't shine, she promised. Now what was scary was that, with Tsunade's legendary strength, she had been known to punt boulders over the Hokage monument. Watching his former student stride down the hallways, Sarutobi felt the blood drain from his face. Well, Naruto-kun, why don't we just stay right here in this nice empty room until your mother returns? The baby, of course, only fidgeted in response. Konoha outskirts. Shizen made a thoughtful sound, as she looked over at the young Naruto in Tsunade's arms once again. Actually, she was glad for the change. Not that she didn't completely respect Tsunade, but no matter how you slice it, traveling with only your gamble-maniac mentor for company could get so tedious. His name means maelstrom, right, Tsunade-sama? No, Tsunade disagreed, more like the ramen topping. Ramen? It's cuter, Tsunade explained. I see, Shizen said, though really she didn't understand at all. By the way, Tsunade-sama, if you're going to be Naruto-kun's mother then Not going to, Tsunade interrupted testily. I've already adopted him. He's my Naruto-chan. Have you been listening at all? Right, Shizen placated her mentor, whose rage itself was legendary. But oh, spit it out already. Tsunade sighed. Can I be his sister? Shizen blurted, surprising the. Fine, Tsunade said after a time, but I'm going to hold you responsible if you turn him into a spoiled brat. Shizen grinned widely. Oh, she always wanted a little brother. Can I hold him? She asked excitedly. Don't push your luck. Oh, make. A few days later. Shizen, did you bring it? Tsunade asked, not diverting her intent gaze from the sleeping bundle that was Naruto. Hi, Tsunade-sama. Shizen replied dutifully, though, Naruto-kun isn't even awake to drink it, and it's just going to cool down. Again. You fool, Tsunade berated, he's asleep now. But when he wakes up, he'll be hungry. The blonde tested the milk's temperature by shaking some onto her wrist. Shizen, get me a thermometer. I'm not sure this milk is properly lukewarm. And close that door. You're lowering the room temperature. Weeks after that, thousands of ninjutsu in this goddamn world, Tsunade groused, and not even one diaper change, no. Alright Naruto-chan, all clean now. Tsunade-sama. Shizen appeared out of nowhere. You can't use language like that in front of an impressionable infant. They learn how to speak by imitation. Tsunade waved off the complaint. What are you talking about? He's a man, isn't he? He can swear at whoever he wants. Isn't that right, Naruto-chan? Tsunade cooed, you're going to grow up, and swear at all the assholes that deserve it, aren't you? Yes you are. Yes you are. She finished, rubbing the infant's stomach affectionately, who giggled in response. Shizen was quite horrified. Tsunade-sama. No, I won't allow it. You're corrupting him, Shizen declared, as she stole her young, and impressionable little brother from her mentor. You're intentionally swearing more than you do normally. Of course I am. Tsunade shot back. My Naruto-chan won't take crap from anyone. He's going to grow up, and tell off all kinds of people, perverts, lawyers, political powers. Old man Sarutobi, she trailed off. No way. He's my precious, and I won't let you set such a bad example. I'm his mother, and I'll teach him to swear like a sailor if I want to. No! Shizen cried, covering Naruto's ears. Don't listen. What's that? Asked the confused Houou Naruto, now 2 years old, and still struggling with new or bigger words. Can I eat it? No, Tsunade explained sweetly. You can't eat it, Naruto-chan. It's like a job. No! She suddenly exclaimed dramatically. It's much more important. You save people, and they all look up to you. You mean, like a superhero? Naruto asked in awe. Yes, exactly. Tsunade cheered. Like a superhero. Superheroes are cool, right? Tsunade-sama. Came Shizen's voice, as she barreled into the room, years saving her from corruption having practically given her a sixth sense. Stop trying to manipulate Naruto-kun like that. You're talking nonsense, Shizen. Why don't you take the day off? You can have paid leave, Tsunade offered. You don't even pay me. I volunteered to be your assistant. Shizen protested hotly. And you can't bribe me. I'm not going to let you manipulate me. While Shizue was her assistant, and differed to Tsunade on pretty much anything. When it came to her Oturo, she could be, so it's not manipulation, it's a sales pitch. It's clearly manipulation. And of course, his first memorable meeting with Katsuya later that year. Kaa-chan, what's the surprise already? Can I eat it? Naruto inquired. For the last time, brat Tsunade dragged out. No, you can't eat it. You glutton, stop caring about food so much. Fine. After you stop drinking sake so much. Naruto shot back. Of course, taking a lip from her adopted son was pissing Tsunade off, but she only grinned. Why? Hee. Okay, Naruto-chan, I'll show you the surprise now. Ready? Tsunade asked. Yeah. Tsunade flipped through the hand seals quickly. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, sheep, bite the thumb, a bit of blood on the palm, slam it into the ground, and, Kuchios no Jutsu. Tsunade was treated to the sight of Naruto screaming like a little girl before hiding behind her legs, and pointing fearfully. It's a giant slug. It's going to eat us. Katsuyu, meanwhile, was decidedly put out. Oh my, I won't eat you, Naruto-san. Don't worry. Sadly, Katsuyu's efforts had quite the opposite effect. Naruto screamed shrilly, it knows my name. It's a mind-reading, giant slug. Kaa-chan, run for it. Tsunade-sama, Shizen muttered, maybe we should have told him about Katsuya-san before. Tsunade cleared her throat. Yes, Naruto-chan, don't say she managed to get out before doubling over in laughter. Naruto was afraid of Katsuya. Katsuya the vegetarian. He screamed like a girl. Naruto-san, I'm your mother's summon, Katsuyu explained, trying to coax the child from behind his adopted sister's legs, now that his old cover spot had been compromised due to it laughing uproariously. You don't have to worry, She's told me all about you. Oh, of course. I knew that. Naruto claimed, as he shakily came to stand before the giant slug. I just have an irrational fear of slugs, Naruto provided weakly. I've gotten over it now though. I see. Was the only response from Katsuyu, who was, honestly, a bit amused, and somewhat enamored with Naruto's cute antics. Well, I hope that means we can be friends, Naruto-san. I'd be honored, Katsuyu-san. Naruto smartly replied, and bowed smoothly. Please don't mind Ka-sama. We don't know why she's so strange sometimes, but she is. Oh my, that must be terribly difficult for you. Katsuyu offered her condolences. But you're such a polite boy, she must be so pleased. Naruto-kun Shizen interrupted, taking pity on her. Your manners are very impressive when you use them, which isn't often, she almost mutters aloud. But you don't need to be so formal with Katsuyu-san. She's almost like a part of the family. And of course you'll be able to summon her one day. Really? Naruto asked. Oh then Katsuyu-chan, can you do something about my really mean mother? He pleaded. I'll do my best, Naruto-kun, Katsuyu offered. And amidst cries of just whose summon are you? She proceeded to lob a glue-like substance at the venerable Tsunadeheim. You could say that Tsunade was much better off for knowing her adopted son. He brought light and life to her previously unexceptional existence, as a drifting gambler. You could even say she changed for the better, as her sardonic side, despondency, and general hate of the world decreased. Though of course, some sacrifices had to be made. Tsunade's eyes twitched in irritation. Impossible, she was at the market, standing before an interesting shelf. Sake, she muttered, glancing to the right, and finding large, glorious bottles of sake. And ramen, she muttered, glancing to the left, shelves stocked with the yummy instant noodle packets, which Naruto was such a fan of. A big fan. Damn, why is ramen being put beside sake anyway? She yelled in frustration. Shizen didn't miss her mentor's dilemma. Ramen or sake, what would she buy? Suddenly, the assistant's face split into a somewhat meddlesome Cheshire cat grin. Oh, Tsunade-sama, did I tell you? She asked, sounding far too innocent. Naruto-kun's been doing so well with his studies lately. And yesterday he found a pervert, and threw him all the way to the top of a redwood tree. Tsunade's lips twitched, having seen the aforementioned man clinging to the top of a 30-meter-tall redwood for dear life. Naruto did that? That's pretty high, she mused. Tsunade seemed to struggle. She reached out vainly for her sake. Sweet glorious sake, but damn, stupid maternal pride, she ground out, finally giving up, and snatching some ramen from the shelf. Come on Shizen, we're paying for this crap before I come back to my senses. Grinning insanely, Shizen followed. Oh, Tsunade-sama had chosen something over sake. She was so proud, and though Tsunade now had a son, she did unfortunately retain her status of a wandering gambler. In fact, it was while wandering through the small town of Rokudo that Naruto first encountered the last piece of what would be his family at the local onsen. Oi kid, what's that you've got there? Huh? Naruto eyed the silver-haired man. What do you mean, old man? That thing on your back, Jiraiya insisted, indicating the intricately stylized lines covering the majority of Naruto's back. Oh, that? It's a tattoo. My Ka-chan got really mad when she found out. Naruto trailed off evasively. That's no tattoo, kid. It's a seal, Jiraiya said shortly, causing Naruto to narrow his eyes at the stranger. If you know what it is, then don't ask. Naruto snapped. How did this guy distinguish the seal Ka-chan put on his back from a tattoo? I mean, Jiraiya growled out slowly, what's it for? It wasn't a question. Who the hell is asking? Naruto shot back. Obviously, he had picked up how to swear from his mother, to a point. Hearing his cue, Jiraiya amazingly managed to perform an impromptu introduction dance in the hot spring, splashing water everywhere. For emphasis, he held open a copy of Ike Ike Paradise in one hand at the end for Naruto to see. Though why he would take that book into a hot spring is anyone's guess. Naruto eyed the inside of the cover. The world's greatest novelist, and ninja, he read flatly, the wonderful Jiraiya-sama. Naruto sighed at the evidence. Tacky silver hair, check, he muttered aloud. Lame introduction dance, check. Picture in a perverted book, sigh, check. Yeah, it's him. Naruto suddenly turned his head to the wall separating the men's bath from the female's side. Hey Ka-chan! I found Uncle Jiraiya. Though Naruto had never met the man, his mother had regretfully informed that, between Jiraiya's history, as part of her genin team, which was almost like her second family growing up, and his status as the close mentor of Naruto's biological father, Jiraiya was more than qualified for the position of uncle if he wanted it. Tsunade swore. A lot. In fact, if Naruto hadn't been so used to it by now, he'd have been scarred for life. Naru-chan, if that idiot starts peeling, beat the living hell out of him. Which brings us to our present scene. Some years, and much history after Naruto's first encounter with his uncle, Our hero is found standing in a small clearing within the forest behind his current house one moonlit night. Once again, Naruto's first made contact with the unforgiving rock. The resounding thwack went unnoticed by the blonde, as he continued to pound away relentlessly at the boulder in front of him. His strength was steadily, if achingly slowly, approaching his mother's freakish level. The crescent-shaped slab of rock he was pounding on, which had once been a boulder, was a testament to the fact. Chips and splinters of rock littered the ground around him, reminiscent of so much broken glass. "Isn't it past your bedtime, brat?" "Huh!" Naruto snapped around, spotting the familiar spiky silver hair. "Oh, hi, Arrow Uncle Naruto. Didn't the female population around here petition you to stay away?" "Che, little nephew, you have much to learn," Jiraiya lectured. "When a woman tells you to stay away, it means she likes you." Naruto stared at his unofficially adopted uncle. Was he serious? Arrow Uncle Naruto sighed. "Are you really an idiot, or just in denial?" Jiraiya merely grinned, and opted for a change of topics, as he sat down on a fallen tree trunk. "And what about you, brat? You're out late, sneak out of the house?" he asked, bringing the conversation, by some strange fluke, to a civil level, as he threw a can of juice at Naruto. Naruto made a non-committal grunt in response, as he reached up to catch the cold beverage arcing through the air, and, shit! Naruto suddenly felt sore, as the can slapped into his open palm, and unexpectedly sent laces of pain shooting throughout his open hand. A dead silence ensued, only broken by the ding of the dropped beverage bouncing off the floor. Naruto looked at his palm in bewilderment. For the first time that night, he noticed the bloody mess that his knuckles had become. "Need me to patch you up, kid?" Jiraiya asked, only half joking. "Nah, this is nothing," Naruto explained, and proceeded to form seals and jerky movements that were clearly interrupted by the insane pain his hands had to suffer through. A few agonizing seconds later, not that he showed just how much pain he was in, Naruto picked up the fallen beverage and joined the old man on the impromptu bench, completely healed. "So what's up, Arrow Uncle? You come here to do research for that perverted book of yours? Peeking?" "Nah," Jiraiya explained, "I actually came looking for you, kid. Haven't seen you for a while." Naruto felt the older man reach over, and muss up his hair affectionately, and asked, "Really?" "Sure," the frog hermit grunted, "I even missed your 4th birthday, remember? Though I'm not saying I won't do some sightseeing before I go." Naruto ignored his uncle's sudden perverted chuckle. "No, it's fine. You sent a card to Gamakochi." Jiraiya sounded thoughtful. "You know, any normal kid would be complaining or demanding presents by now." Naruto merely scoffed at the thought. "Normal? What's that have to do with me?" "True. You're a pretty weird kid. Normal isn't sneaking out at night to punch some rock until it gives up and crumbles into rubble." A silence stretched out to follow Jiraiya's last statement. He held his tongue, as he saw the medic Nin in training frown at his can of apple juice. "You know how I never told you what that seal on my back was for?" Indeed, Jiraiya remembered the seal well. Frankly, he was impressed that Tsunade could pull something so complicated off. How many months or years had it taken her? "Well," Naruto continued, "it's not really for sealing anything. It just alters this one," he mumbled, lifting up his shirt, and exposing nothing. "You can't see it, but it's there." "The Kyuubi seal," Naruto muttered. "You know, when seals are put on people they only show up when you mold some chakra through them," Naruto informed. Jiraiya's brow furrowed. "That was true. Very true. Kid, I've never seen the one on your back disappear," he informed gravely. "Yeah," Naruto's head lifted up, now contemplating the stars, chakras always running through it. Jiraiya was almost afraid of where this was going. "What is it?" "A lock," Naruto promptly answered him. "It's just a lock. It keeps the Kyuubi's chakra from touching mine." "But why?" Jiraiya asked in befuddlement. "A medic needs very high chakra control," he stated, as if it were a simple and profound fact of life. "And even Ka-chan's battle techniques need a lot of control, and I can't," Naruto sighed, "I can't reach the right level with Kyuubi's chakra mixing with mine." "I don't understand it much, but Naruto reiterated that it cuts Kyuubi out of the loop, and it seals off a quarter of my chakra to stay active all the time." 25%, huh? That's pretty steep. Jiraiya carefully informed. "Minato's seal will grow with you, so your mother's will have to grow to match it. That's 25% of your chakra that you'll never see for the rest of your life. Just to make it, as if Kyuubi wasn't there." Naruto didn't seem fazed. In fact, the little boy seemed much older than he was. "There's more to pay than that. I was chosen as the container because I was born the closest to when Kyuubi was sealed. My body is the container, and to stay the container, Ka-chan's seal will fade once a month, and adjust my body." Jiraiya grimaced. "So once a month, as Kyuubi's chakra is open to you, and your body is forced to alter itself, which day is it?" Naruto nodded. "Nei-chan picked out the day. She said making it work once every new moon would be more convenient." "It's not bad," but I can't fight or train very well. I feel sick, and cough up blood a lot. Jiraiya couldn't hold it anymore. I knew Tsunade was paranoid about Minato's seal, but I hadn't even considered this. Listen Naruto, having the Kyuubi sealed in you shoots your chakra control to hell, but it's not all bad. Minato's seal will let you heal faster, and have more chakra converted slowly from Kyuubi. It balances out. You can't reach the ridiculous heights of control that Tsunade has, but Naruto stood up, and faced his uncle with a determined look. I need chakra control to be the heir to Kachan's techniques, he said firmly, his face taking on a more fierce tone, as he continued. And I don't need help from Kyuubi for that. Or anything else. Jiraiya looked surprised, but ended up chuckling wryly, and conceding the point after a time. Once Naruto's made up his mind like this, well, you either agree or get out of the way. And Jiraiya could very well understand the boy's sentiments regarding getting far under his own power. Alright kid, I get it. Sit back down already. It was then that Jiraiya made a wistful observation. All children have the desire to surpass their parents. Such a sweet little kid, aren't you, Naruto-chan? Naruto smiled, bearing the brunt of Jiraiya's jibe, just glad to see that his uncle understood his decision. Don't sound so laid back, old man, Naruto countered cheekily. I'll surpass you too. Humph, Jiraiya snorted contemptuously, as he made a show of flipping off the log dramatically. A brat like you? Kyuubi already shot your chakra control to hell. You have absolutely no natural talent for it at all. You can only use 75% of your chakra, and to top it off, you're an idiot. What did you say? Naruto demanded, lunging for the famed pervert's throat. And you're loud, Jiraiya yelled back, as he dodged Naruto's lunges with ease. You're the worst possible person to try and become a ninja, Naruto growled, and charged again. This wasn't playful banter anymore, this was war. But, Jiraiya thundered, causing Naruto to pause in his tracks and listen interestedly. You got guts, kid, Jiraiya smiled proudly, as he continued. You built your chakra control up from scratch to something damn impressive for your age. And you never let your 25% chakra handicap slow you down. You just worked harder. You really aren't a genius like some other kids. Your book smarts aren't anything impressive. But you're always reading a scroll or book whenever you walk anywhere. You had me, Shizen, and your mother to teach you, but in the end you grew a damn strong kid, under your own power. Naruto almost got teary-eyed. Almost. His uncle sure had a roundabout way of delivering praise, that was for sure. The boy walked up to the man, and gave him a wide smile. You forgot something Naruto informed you about. Yeah? Jiraiya asked, amused. Yeah, I'm loud, but Naruto cocked his fist back. I can trick idiots like you any day. Wham! Jiraiya groaned, as he peeled himself off of the tree Naruto's punch had sent him sailing into. Damn brat, I take back everything I said. You're useless. KH. Naruto snorted. You think you can insult me, and then get away with it by saying some other stuff? You're the only idiot here. Ungrateful brat. Arobaka. Arobaka. Naruto taunted, pointing an accusing finger at his uncle. When they see him, all the women run away. He has to peek because no one will date him. He's been slapped by women in every country in the world. Well, no one ever said they had a normal relationship. Normal would be too boring for those guys. But at the end of their meeting, Naruto and Jiraiya walked away with the underlying messages behind their scuffles, and arguments engraved within their hearts forever. And that was all right. I understand your decision, Naruto. I'm proud of you. Thanks for understanding, uncle. Omake. Naruto walked up a small hill, and found his uncle sitting atop a grassy knoll. For once, not doing anything perverted. Yo, Arrow uncle. What's that thing? Jiraiya just grinned, and continued to twist the little multicolored cube in his hands. Hey, what is it already? Naruto pestered. It's called a Rubik's Cube, brat. A merchant sold it to me. It's a puzzle. See? You have to get each side to have only one color on it. Jiraiya explained, giving it a decisive twist. I see. 30 minutes later. Gah! Piece of junk! Jiraiya yelled before suddenly throwing the cube away, only to have Naruto catch it in one hand. Jeez! It's just a cube. What kind of Sannin are you anyways? Let's see you try it, Jiraiya demanded. Fine, I'll solve this problem easily. Just watch carefully, Arobaka Naruto instructed. Another 30 minutes later, Naruto sat, fuming at the little cube before him, taunting him mercilessly. Damn it, it's a stupid thing anyways. Naruto pouted. Of course, Jiraiya agreed factually. In fact, I have much more important things to do. Me too, Naruto quickly agreed. I can't believe I've wasted this much time already. I mean, it's probably impossible to do it. Do what? Jiraiya asked. I don't know what you're talking about. And I definitely don't know anything about useless cubes that are beneath my notice. Oh hey, a Rubik's Cube. The uncle-nephew pair turned in tandem to see the origination of the voice. A spectacled kid suddenly bent down and picked up the aforementioned cube. Wow, I haven't had the pleasure of idly indulging my crazily cranial-cracking intellect on three-dimensional cubic entertainment of this magnitude since I was 3. The child, no older than 4, observed. 30 seconds later. Ah! The nameless boy exclaimed, as extraneously easy as I recalled. Naruto, and Jiraiya's eyes twitched in irritation. Naruto didn't even know what every other word out of this guy's mouth meant, but a stranger had just shown him up. Badly, without even knowing. Well, good day, gentle sir. I'll just return this delightful mind teaser to you, my good peer, and be on my way. How good of you to leave it so unimaginably far from solved for me. I bid you adieu. And with that, the little spectacled boy went on his way. Naruto had to physically restrain himself from hurling the Rubik's Cube at the gifted child's retreating form with a vengeance. However, Jiraiya took the cube, and threw it at the smarmy brat himself. This never happened, Jiraiya insisted. Naruto could only nod fiercely in agreement. Next week, Yo Tsunade, Jiraiya greeted, as he entered his old teammate's current abode. Jiraiya Tsunade drew from the kitchen. How coincidental. You managed to somehow drop by just as dinner was prepared. Again. And I'm sure that you must be very hungry after traveling so far. Again. And I'm sure you won't leave me alone until I let your freeloading ass eat for free. Again. Wow, Tsunade. You really are a remarkably astute woman. Twack! Jiraiya was hit in the head by a flying projectile of the egg timer nature. But hey, it was worth it. Free food. It didn't matter that he actually had loads of cash. Freeness was bliss, plain and simple. HM? Jiraiya sounded intrigued, as he spotted an innocent-looking cube perched on the counter. Tsunade, what's that? The slug Sannin followed his gaze. Oh that? Naruchan kept bugging me to buy him this thing a while ago. Kid kept carrying it with him, and fiddling with it when he wasn't training. I swear he wouldn't put the damn thing down, even though it pissed the hell out of him. And then she shook her head wonderingly. When he finished it, he just put it on the windowsill, and left it. Tsunade shot her old teammate a look. What do you know about it? Jiraiya grinned madly. So, the brat didn't give up after all? He kept going for a week even after all that happened. For what? To gloat? For praise? No, to accomplish what he couldn't before. To not back down. Kid's got guts, he informed, feeling somehow insurmountably impressed. Tsunade's eyebrow delicately rose in a way that made people feel like they were idiots. What, are you just finding this out now? You really are slow, aren't you, Arabaka? Jiraiya's pride stung painfully. Too painful to reply. He felt like he'd been verbally punched in the gut. Naruto suddenly strolled into the room, his pristine white clothes now covered in mud. He looked over, and noticed the shocked and insulted look his uncle was sporting. Ah, Arabaka is here again? I should call you Arrow Freeloader, but it's too long, he informed me pointedly. I'm going to take a shower, Kaa-chan. Naruto yelled over his shoulder, as walked past the stunned form of his uncle. Make sure Arrow Freeloader doesn't eat all the food before I'm done. Tsunade smiled proudly. That's her Naru-chan, putting idiots in their place, and throwing insults at perverts with pinpoint accuracy. Ah, she was so proud. On this particular day, a now 5-year-old Naruto was found squatting down on the ground, hunched over some object of interest. He seemed to be absorbed in whatever it was that he was doing, and so Jiraiya had no problem sneaking up to him. Jiraiya had just made it into town. It had been a month since he'd last seen his adopted nephew, and he was wondering how the brat was doing. So here he was. Oi Naruto, he prompted, startling the boy out of his reverie. Huh? Oh, it's just Arrow Uncle, Naruto observed, standing up, and dusting off his pants with one hand. We already ate lunch, so you can't invite yourself to eat all our food today. He held up the other hand to the sky. And it was a small blue bird, the wing finally healed, and once again ready to soar into the sky. It did so with great joy, and thanks. Really? Damn, Jiraiya muttered. Shizen was one hell of a cook. I mean, he coughed into his fist. Do you really think so little of me, Naruto? It's not just me, Naruto pointed out factually. Everyone thinks about you like that. Needless to say, that elicited a response. Ungrateful brat, Jiraiya shouted. It was one of his favorite phrases of all time. What are you talking about? I have nothing to be grateful for. Naruto shouted back. You're only good for practicing how to heal slap marks. Well, that wasn't completely true. He also made a good test subject for weak poisons, and subsequent antidotes whenever he was in particular need of divine retribution for something which usually involved him using Naruto as a scapegoat. Sure, the old man might summon some frogs to help his nephew train before running off to be perverted, but the way Naruto saw it, that was mostly the frogs being useful. Fine. Jiraiya humfed. I was going to teach you super cool, but I guess I'll just do research instead. Jiraiya recited it. It was another of his favorite phrases. Old man, Naruto growled, the day you actually teach me a super cool is the day I read that perverted book of yours. Naruto argued, pointing his finger accusingly at his uncle. Jiraiya's eyes widened, and suddenly filled with a terrible gleam. Deal, he shouted, grabbing Naruto's outstretched hand, and giving it a vigorous handshake. Wait, what? Naruto said dumbly. No way, I take it back. I don't want to read your stupid perverted book. Too late, brat. I may be old, but I can still trick idiots like you any day, he gleefully proclaimed, reversing a line Naruto had used on him before. What? But? Naruto mumbled incoherently. The old man had tricked him? Him? Naruto? He'd just been roped into reading a perverted book. He was in shock. Later, Naruto sighed. He couldn't believe this was happening. If his mother ever found out, he was dead. He sat cross-legged on the ground, watching his teacher take up a lecturing pose. Okay, Kid Jiraiya began, looking like he was actually going to take this seriously. You know how you're always doing chakra control exercises? Yeah, yet despite your constant efforts, Jiraiya continued, you're still a complete failure compared to your mother and sister. Shut up, Naruto snapped. Jiraiya internally admitted that perhaps he hadn't made the fairest comparison. Tsunade and Shizen were like gods when it came to chakra control, and the brat had actually gotten pretty damn good. Of course, Jiraiya wasn't going to be the one to tell him that more than once or twice a year. Anyway, the point is that you're always burning out your chakra, Jiraiya concluded. It's unexpected, but because of that, you have some massive reserves for a kid your age, even with your QB suppression thing taking 25%. You could say chakra is like a muscle. The more you use it, the greater it becomes. Yeah? Well, I guess so, Naruto mused. So you see, your useless attempts at getting better are good for something after all. Enough already, Naruto shouted, shaking his fist angrily. And it's not useless, I am getting better. You said so too, he defended. Just teach me, you idiot. Ah, sweet revenge. Jiraiya was basking in the fact that he was getting back at his nephew for all of the brat's disrespect, which mostly centered around Jiraiya's perverted work, which was very important to the frog hermit. But back to work. Did you know that in Konoha, the Uchiha clan used to teach its kids the C-rank technique Katan, Gokyaku no? It was some sort of rite of passage. Naruto blinked. No? Great fireball technique? I'm going to learn to shoot a fireball? He asked, excitedly. Oh, the first thing he'd do was toast that Arobaka. No, Jiraiya said pointedly. You already have the chakra for it, so we're just going to skip Housenka, Gokaku, and all that low-rank, kiddie stuff. Wait, skip? Naruto asked skeptically. He was getting a bad feeling about this. The useful B-rank, Katan, carrier ended. Here, stand like this, he said, spreading his feet apart. Naruto followed suit. The seals are rat, horse, tiger, dog, ox, dragon, horse, hare, and tiger. Mold the chakra so that it ends up flowing into your lungs, and then blow it out. Think of a fire dragon when you do. Naruto eventually managed to remember all the instructions. That's a lot of hand seals, but it doesn't sound so hard. Just tiring. Okay, he closed his eyes, and began concentrating on how his chakra was molding, as he slowly moved through the hand seals. Actually, you'll probably have Jiraiya trailing off. Katan, carrier, and Ak. A small flame issued forth, and Naruto fell to his knees clutching his burnt lips while utilizing a few of his adopted mother's more choice swear words. He began to flip through a more familiar set of hand seals. Jiraiya watched amusedly, as Naruto held up a glowing yellow palm of chakra to his mouth. Hey, Jiraiya observed that the brat's lips were still burned. Can't you just heal it? Naruto shot his uncle a look, as he quickly rifled through his inside coat pockets. He developed a kind of lisp from having his lips burned. I don't know that one yet, he defended. I just numbed the pain a little. Naruto proceeded to pull out a vial of clear blue liquid, and apply it to his lips. Hare, horse, bird, monkey, dog, Kashinan Kufukatsu no. Another palm of yellow chakra later, Naruto was in good health. Jiraiya's eyebrows rose. Oddly, Naruto didn't really blame his uncle for the burn. Not that he'd let the pervert know that. In an attempt to knock his temporary teacher out of his stupor, he opted to explain himself. Since I don't know the first-degree burn heal, I have to combine an ointment of East Fire Root and the burn ointment accelerator technique. Jiraiya's eyebrows remained up. Brat was full of surprises. He actually sounded like he knew what he was talking about. With the way the kid normally talked, it was easy to forget that he actually studied. Naruto shot his uncle with a flat look. Yeah, I didn't think you'd understand. Listen, Arobaka, I can only heal burns if I have this bottle of stuff right now, okay? Back to work, he snapped. Nightfall. The vial of ointment lay on its side, empty. The whole day had gone by with Naruto practicing, arguing with his uncle while he recovered, and then practicing again. He knew he was going to catch hell when he went home with his clothes singed, as they were, and there was also the looming promise of having to read Arobaka's book of extreme perversion. Naruto panted. "The damn thing won't work," he groused. Jiraiya made a distinctly fed-up sound. "It's getting late, brat. Let's call it a day. We'll start again tomorrow," Jiraiya proposed. "For the record, you're not doing well," pompous-ass Naruto muttered. "It's fine, you already taught me the damn super cool. I'll read your stupid book," but he paused. "I'll never become perverted like you." Jiraiya shook his head sadly. "Your loss." He then handed Naruto a few sheets of paper. "You're obviously not mature enough to care about adult things, so I'll only make you read the non-perverted parts." Relief dawned on Naruto's face. "Really?" Cool, Naruto mumbled. "Hey wait, you only gave me 3 pages, Naruto protested. "So?" There was utter silence for a time. Even the local animals of nature fell into silence, perhaps in shock. Ugh, the medic Nin in training sounded in disgust, the implications sinking in. Why did he suddenly feel a headache coming on? Out of an entire novel he emphasized each word. "You only have 3 pages of non-perverted stuff." That was very true. But rather than becoming defensive, Jiraiya seemed to brighten up at this, and his chest puffed out in pride. "Ika Ika Paradise is the most super-perverted series in the world," he said severely, as if the title were of some life-altering significance. Sadly, there were probably people out there whose lives really were altered drastically by the perverted book. Those pages aren't even double-sided. And the books after that one have even more perverted content, he shouted triumphantly, and with much vigor. "You should understand. Its power is so great that I am required by law to sell a pair of nose plugs with each copy, lest first-time readers suffer extreme blood loss." Naruto gaped. 2 words, throbbing. Headache. Did people really get nosebleeds from perverted thoughts? Why then, did his uncle not always have a nosebleed? Was he so adapted to being perverted that he had built up immunity? "I'll read these small pieces of you not being perverted later." Naruto began to slowly trudge home. Jiraiya followed suit. Unsurprisingly, Jiraiya coughed into his fist for the second time that day when he saw Naruto's raised eyebrow. "Well, I have a hotel, but all the good restaurants are closed by now, you know how it is," he said conversationally. Naruto smiled tiredly. Yeah, he knew how it was. His uncle was a cheap freeloader, that's how it was. "Well, since you actually weren't useless for a change, I guess I won't complain. Come on, Arrow Freeloader, I'll try, and keep Kacchan from attacking you with the egg timer again." As they trudged along, there was one thing Naruto couldn't stop thinking about. "I still think it's weird that you didn't try to make me read the whole perverted book." "Are you kidding?" Jiraiya asked scandalously. "Your mother would beat me to death, and your sister would just kill me in my sleep." "Ah, that makes sense." And this closed the subject of Jiraiya's uselessness. In regards to the carrier Enden, after more than a week of practice, and empty bottles of East Fire Root, Naruto still couldn't do it. Not ready to give up completely, Naruto nonetheless put it lower on his list of priorities. He considered it good training, but hopes of actually using the technique itself seemed slim for the near future. There was clearly something wrong. Regardless, more subjects would be addressed this year. The subject of Konoha was a bit of a touchy one for the house. Or rather, it was to Tsunade. Due to the scars of her past, Konoha for Tsunade was both a nest of painful memories, and a place which she distrusted greatly. Unfortunately for her, at that time in the shinobi world, the country one was born and dictated the village they could become a ninja of, meaning Naruto would have to go to Konoha. It was a fact, an eventuality, and it was this eventuality that saw the house visiting Konoha shortly before Naruto's 6th birthday. The exact purpose itself for the visit was somehow foggy, but Konoha was something that the house would have to face sooner or later. The Grand Gates of Konoha are one of the most widely known landmarks in the current shinobi world. It's not that hard to believe. The daunting sight was certainly something that one would remember, and bring tales of back to his or her own village. The twin gates were constructed from trees that the first Hokage himself had called forth, with a height that easily equated to at least 3 stories, and a density that made the wood all but diamond hard. The Grand Gates of Konoha were, like many of the world's widely known landmarks, completely and utterly useless. They were just too damn heavy. It was impractical. In fact, due to the daunting need of at least several hardy taijutsu specialists to open and close the gate each and every time such an act was required, the Grand Gates of Konoha were practically never used. Still, it was a sight to behold. To a merchant that frequented Konoha, it might only warrant a small pause and a short look of awe. To an assaulting enemy force, it would look like an impenetrable barrier that would strip away all hope and fighting spirit. To Shizen, it looked like something mildly interesting that she was considering sounding very excited about, for her Ototo's benefit. The fact was, Katsuya was bigger. To Tsunade, it just looked like a big door. This most likely stemmed from the fact that she could open and close it regularly without a team of taijutsu specialists breaking into dry heaves, as if it really were nothing more than a large door. No. It was what lay beyond that door which intimidated her, for beyond that door was fear, uncertainty, danger. Not for her, of course. No, damnable Konoha wouldn't take her. It struck at who she loved most in the whole world. The dearest lights of her life had been swallowed up and taken away, because death was a release, and life without your light was a living hell. Dying heroically or whatever, dead was dead. And Nawaki and Dan didn't deserve to die, not like that. And now, Tsunade took a deep breath. She was about to walk the third and dearest light of her life straight into the village that had claimed the other two. They growled. She didn't like this, she definitely didn't like this. She was a gambler. Hell, the kanji on her coat meant gamble. But she didn't gamble with her child's life. Not ever. This was just so wrong. She wasn't an idiot, she knew that her views of Konoha were skewed at best. But when your little brother dies on a supposedly safe and simple mission, and your significant other dies bleeding to death in your arms before you can even have your honeymoon, just as you're starting to regain hope in life not being a twisted tunnel of emotional pain and hell, well, you start to see a trend. And it's not a good trend. This was just so wrong. Little Naruto looked up at the mega-sized gates before him. Of course, his head had to be craned back like crazy so that he could actually see the size of it rather than just a solid expanse of wood. As an aspiring medic nin, he was aware that craning your neck back this much, and this long, was actually pretty bad for you. But wow, those were some big doors. And on the other side of them home? He wasn't sure. He hadn't even ever been inside of Konoha, except for the day he spent there, as an infant. Did just being born there let him call it home? If not, then where was home? Rudoku, where he'd first met his adopted uncle? Hitoro, where his mother had worked an all-time record of 2 weeks in a row at the local apothecary to pay off at least some of their debt for a change. Kazigo, where his wandering family had stayed the longest. Ka-chan, Naruto finally spoke. Are we home? Tsunade's paternal heart endured a stab of pain at the odd question. Just what did that mean? Was all the traveling getting to him? To her, home was wherever her Naruto was. But if Naruto wanted to stay here, could she call it home? We'll see, Naruto-chan. Tsunade promised, we'll see. And now, apparently done with the sightseeing, Tsunade calmly placed her right palm onto one of the monolithic doors, and pushed. Shizen watched, as her mentor calmly proceeded to force open the monolithic grand gates of Konoha with one hand. Shizen would be the first to tell you that Tsunade was the one that worried over Naruto the most, yet she looked so calm at this point. It was an odd trait that Tsunade and Naruto were prone to exhibiting. When the moment of truth arrived, they would become suddenly calm, if fiercely determined or some such other emotion. All fretting, and what ifs, and if only were thrown out the window. Problems were quickly ascertained, then dealt with in much the same manner. The past was left behind, and assumptions were prone to being discarded in an instant. Where someone else would widen their eyes in shock, and lose their footing, her mentor would narrow their eyes, and decimate what obstacles stood ahead. Naruto had even coined a phrase off of that by accident one morning during breakfast conversation. When you have nowhere to move, but forwards, don't look back. Shizen thought it was adorable, how he'd look, as if he was lecturing her when he said it. Tsunade kneeled, the grand gates now opened. Naruto-chan, do you remember where you got your whisker marks? Tsunade had hated to tell her son that a medic nin had spitefully tried to assassinate/mark him on the day he was born, but she trusted her son to be strong enough to handle the information, and wasn't willing to lie about it. Her trust hadn't been misplaced. Yes, Ka-chan, Naruto mumbled, I remember. Tsunade's eyes softened. Good. Hold my hand, and stay beside me, okay? Naruto nodded resolutely, I promise. And, as Tsunade took his hand in hers, and smoothly entered Konoha with her son by her side, and her attendant trailing behind her, Tsunade wondered, what did home mean to Naruto? Konoha, interior. It was a generic day at the crowded outskirts of Konoha's market district. Meaning it was sunny, with a few clouds drifting lazily in the sky. Tetsuo, a 16-year-old local, old enough to be tall, but not old enough to look old, with brown hair and unremarkable features, was taking his little sister of 4 years for a walk. Why? Mostly because he was sick of hearing her complain about being bored, to the point where hearing her complain about her feet being tired had become a tempting prospect he couldn't ignore. Just for a change of pace. But he also cared about her, when she wasn't looking. He prided himself in acting like a good elder brother that really should be too mature to hang out with kids ought to act. A low rumbling, and the sound of long unmentioned hinges creaking prompted the normal din of the market crowd to take on a new direction. Look! It's the grand gates of Konoha! They're opening! Of course, by this point the crowd was staring in shock at the sight of the monolithic gate actually being opened. What type of terrible force was being exerted on the other side? What did this mean for Konoha? Immediately, the general public broke into hysterics. "Oh my God!" one villager shouted. "We're being invaded." "No!" another disagreed, not able to imagine any human gathering able to open the 3-story gates. "It's a gigantic summoned creature here to kill us all." Tetsuo couldn't look away from the impossible sight. "It's some kind of horrific monster with freakish strength." The door finally stopped moving, and it was then that people began to recognize the figure of a blonde, big-chested woman kneeling to speak confidently with a child. It was Tsunade-sama. Of course, she was famous, and widely known in Konoha, even amongst the non-ninja villager community. One could say that it was due to her being the single greatest contributor to medicine in history, and the savior of multitudes of sick or injured. But really, it was just that she was damn impressive, and looked cool. Basically, the village wanted to be proud of her. It was a morale thing. One could even say it might have been a "we're better than you are" sort of thing. Whispers of Tsunade's name, and general murmuring were heard, as the newly arrived group smoothly strode up to the busy streets of Konoha. Tsunade didn't walk, as if she were in a hurry, but she seemed to be mildly annoyed with something. So, they stopped uncomfortably close to Tetsuo. "Now I'm a horrific monster with freakish strength, huh?" she asked, eyebrow faintly twitching. Tetsuo gulped in fear. Another reason for people's knowledge of Tsunade's name may have something to do with her legendary temper, which was known to cow the Hokage on occasion. Her willingness to extract said temper in impressive displays of otherworldly strength may have had something to do with it, as well. Regardless, Tetsuo knew he and his sister were toast. "Inmutu!" he shouted, as he spread his arms wide in the classic human shield pose. "Run away, and don't look back!" he screamed. "I'll distract her." Tsunade's left eyebrow developed a sporadic twitch. Did this brat really think she was going to grind his bones, and make soup with it or something? The twitch got even worse, as the brat's little sister ran into the crowd yelling, "I won't forget you, Tsunade-chan." That did it. Tetsuo reflexively closed his eyes, as the fist came sailing at him at impossible speeds, but the force halted centimeters away from his face, and, as the wind that was dragged along with the fist blew past him, and he found that yes, he was still alive, Tetsuo dared to open his eyes. "Dumb brat," Tsunade muttered. From her fist, which was halted inches from Tetsu's face, Tsunade's index finger rose in a swift, decisive act. Flick! Naruto winced, as he saw the poor villager go sailing into a wooden fence. His mother's mighty finger flick of death was something to be feared indeed. He was still a ways from pulling that particular move off. "Kaa-chan," he said, as he peered at the post-flicked boy, "I think you dislocated his arm." Shizen peered, as well. "No, Naruto-kun, he just seems unconscious." "Halt!" a masked ANBU demanded, as he appeared out of nowhere. "Welcome back, Tsunade-sama. But I'll need to see some ID." "ID?" Tsunade asked, not quite believing that she, the of Konoha, and summoner of 5-story slugs needed to present ID. "Are you telling me that there is someone else that can open those huge excuses for doors with one hand, and knock a person across the street with one finger?" Well, the ANBU floundered. "I wasn't really here to personally see either case," and the ANBU trailed off. Oh, that had bad move written all over it. Just what had he done to himself? "You should have just said so," Tsunade informed me. In an instant her right hand was centimeters from the ANBU's face, ready to flick. "Here's my proof of ID." "No!" the ANBU shouted in an embarrassingly high-pitched panicky voice. Not a soul blamed him. "That's okay, there are enough witnesses, you see." "Well," Tsunade drawled, "if you're sure." "I'm very sure," the ANBU whimpered. Naruto took this time to observe his surroundings. So this was Konoha. They were on the street that led directly from the grand gates, obviously. The path then split up ahead. Down the right street, he could glimpse the starts of a market area. Over the left, whatever was on the street was immediately ignored in favor of staring at the hillside, which had a bunch of guys' faces carved into it. Directly ahead, a giant circular tower rose above the roofline. He also caught sight of a banner advertising his uncle's perverted books above a building, as well as an impressively big house to his left that was surrounded by trees. All in all, it seemed like a good place. But slowly he felt the gazes of the villagers shift away from his mother, and towards himself, towards his whisker marks. He wondered, would they see Houou Naruto, Sannin Tsunade's son, or would they see Naruto, Kyubi no Kitsun's container? "We've come back," Shizen said wistfully to the wind. "It's been a long time." Seeing his adopted sister's apparent relief, or joy at returning to her village of birth, Naruto wondered if he dared share his concerns with her. She worried too much, as it was. "Yes," Tsunade agreed, voice lined with a vague concern. But if I say I'm back, will Konoha say welcome back? Naruto looked at his mother questioningly. The woman shot her son with a soft smile. Naruto, Tsunade began softly. Home is where someone you care about is waiting to say welcome back. Naruto's eyes shot wide in awe at this concept, the words burning into his memory forever. Slowly, he nodded to his mother, and, after a time, smoothly lifted his gaze skywards. The breeze played wistfully with his hair. I'm back, Konoha, Omake. The subject of Tsunade's gambling came to a head one morning. The roar of the argument had long since scared all the wildlife away from the house's current house of residence. Tension was high. Each word was shouted with alarming force between the two fierce verbal. I thought it was just a hobby that you spent money on, Naruto proclaimed. It is my hobby, you idiot. Tsunade shouted back, clearly beyond ticking off at this point. No, it's not. It's a competition, and you suck at it, Naruto accused. What? Tsunade exclaimed in shock. The sting was extreme. That was a sensitive subject for her. No more ramen, brat, she vengefully commanded. No more ramen. Naruto felt like he'd suffered a terrible blow. But he regrouped alarmingly quickly. He'd have to endure. All this time he hadn't understood the true nature of this gamble. But now he knew. And things had gone on long enough. It's the truth. They call you the legendary sucker Ka-chan. You suck so much, it's legendary. Shizen hadn't really thought of this aspect. She'd always been more concerned about the monetary side. The whole, we're in debt, and it's both shameful and hazardous to our livelihoods aspect. Though her Otutu's concerns somehow fit his personality to a.t. And of course, she was glad that Naruto was finally taking a position against her mentor's gambling. At least she thought he was? That Tsunade floundered. You're not even wasting our money doing something interesting. You're wasting it playing a game you suck at. Naruto insisted. At least waste it on something cool. Tsunade glared down at her adopted son. That will change. Statistically, I have hit some kind of jackpot. No, Naruto disagreed. Statistically, you suck. It was at this point that a rage-filled punch sent Naruto crashing through the front door, which was thankfully open. But as he was used to being on the painful end of his mother's temper, and was perhaps too fired up for his own good, Naruto was up, and back in the argument in a flash. Give up, Ka-chan. Find something you're good at. Or at least something you're not really bad at. No, Tsunade glared stubbornly. She should have punched the brat harder. Damn it, I want to gamble. Fine. Naruto threw up his hands in frustration. But can't you not suck so much? Get training or something, he demanded. Work harder, damn it. Suddenly, Shizen didn't like the way this conversation was going. Work harder? Tsunade asked, shocked. Work harder? I've been gambling for 13 $years straight. That's training for longer than you've been alive. And Naruto glared, you still suck. Naruto! Tsunade lunged. Shizen did her best to physically restrain her mentor, but wasn't going to last very long if Tsunade started to utilize her monstrous strength. You think it's easy? I'd like to see you try. Fine. Naruto shot back. If I completely fail, then at least you won't be lonely. It took a little effort, but Tsunade eventually managed to get the local casino to agree to let little Naruto in to gamble, but just for a day. Tsunade, calmed down a little from yesterday, led Naruto and Shizen to her place of gambling. The establishment was quite large, but was somewhat lacking in decoration. This is it, brat, Tsunade announced. Are you ready for this? She challenged me. Bring it on. Naruto yelled back. Nei-chan, I need my pouch. Shizen sighed. Naruto-kun, I really don't think this is a good idea. I have to do this, Nei-chan, Naruto insisted. Sighing, Shizen regretfully handed over the small pouch that contained every yen of allowance Naruto had ever gotten. Ruefully, she noted that he seemed so determined and dead set on this. She supposed he must feel strongly about the subject. Well, as long as Naruto didn't get hurt or addicted to gambling, she supposed it was okay. Bravely, the trio entered the building. Casino, interior. Alright, brat, Tsunade began. It's a game of skill, strategy, and, yeah? Let's start, Naruto shouted bravely. What? Tsunade shouted in disbelief. So I get 5 cards, Naruto observed. And they have stuff on them. Do I win? Tsunade peered at her son's hand. 4 of a kind. Keep those cards, and get rid of that king, she whispered loudly. Of course, the dealer heard her. Okay, Naruto said, as he proceeded to throw away 3 cards. What are you doing? Tsunade demanded. Well, Naruto reasoned, I figured that since you suck so much, everything you say must be really bad. So I got rid of some other stuff. Tsunade mumbled, not able to express her rage. The dealer laughed. Partially because the kid had guts. Partially because this win would be so painfully easy. He gave Naruto 3 cards to replace the ones he'd lost. Now I have a bunch of funny stuff. I think this is good. Naruto deduced. You idiot! Tsunade shouted from her spot at the side of the table. Don't bet anything. I'm going to bet all this stuff, Naruto proclaimed, indicating his betting chips, going for broke with his theory. Tsunade ground her teeth. For the first time in her life, she seriously considered slamming her head on a table in frustration. The dealer grinned widely. I'll match you, he informed me. Full house, kid, he smugly explained, putting down his cards. Naruto made a sound, and proceeded to look at his cards at great length, shuffling them around. Well, the impatient dealer finally said, what do you have? How should I know? Naruto snapped, I'm just a kid. I don't play poker. I have a bunch of red guys, a 10 and an A, he said, putting down his cards. That's good, right? Tsunade stared at the royal flush of hearts. The fact that she hadn't gotten one of those in 13 years of gambling was not lost on her, as she proceeded to gape openly. Shizen watched, torn between being upset that her Ototo was gambling, and being pleased that he was so good at it. How are you doing that? Tsunade demanded. How should I know? Naruto protested. I'm just a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I just pulled the handle. Try pushing those buttons, I think they're good. Immediately, Tsunade, as well as every person in the casino that had been sitting at a slot machine and listening in on Naruto's conversation for some kind of miracle tip, began to push random red buttons with gusto. It was the end of the day, and the Houous were sadly forced to leave the casino. Tsunade exited the main doors first, looking generally dazed and disorientated, walking mechanically, and wondering just what the hell had happened. Naruto slowly followed after her, dragging a criminally large green bag of cash, and Shizen followed after, pushing the other end with her shoulder. This is Naruto painting, good training. Naruto-kun, Shizen grunted out, under the strain of pushing such a ridiculously sized bag. We can pay off a lot of debts with this. Well, okay, Nei-chan. I know you worry about that stuff, Naruto consented amongst strenuous gasps for air. But I want to use most of it for ramen, he insisted. Most of it? Yeah, Naruto grunted. Let's go to the store first. Then it won't weigh much the rest of the way, right? Ototo Shizen mumbled that her breath was short from exertion. I don't think you could spend much of this to buy the whole shelf of ramen. Really? Naruto asked. You might get it lighter if you buy the whole store. Oh, Naruto said. He would be more excited. But he'd had a very strenuous day of shocking people by consistently winning money at impossible odds that left them so stunned. They'd been effectively robbed blind before they knew what was going on. Well, Ka-chan, I was right. I didn't even know what I was doing, and I still won all this stuff. Naruto lectured. So you must really, really suck at gambling. Yes, Tsunade mumbled, still looking around in a general daze, having just seen several general rules of probability decimated by her own son. You're probably right, Naruto-chan. I think I'll just gamble for fun from now on. Well, Naruto muttered, still straining with the bag he was pulling. I'm still confused about how it works. It's not really a good game, he observed. I don't think training helps, so it's not really your fault. That was a surprise. You think so, Naruto-chan? She asked. That may have been one of the nicest things she'd ever heard about her gambling addiction, an unnatural ability to lose repeatedly. Yeah. Hey Ka-chan, were you serious about that no ramen thing? That? Well, not really. Oh. Just checking. Relaxing, Naruto-chan, Tsunade mumbled, as she swept her hawk-like gaze over the whispering crowd. We're almost there. Don't worry. Naruto absorbed his mother's words silently, his usually upbeat attitude subdued for a change by the speculative and gradually more hateful gazes that were beginning to surround him on each side. Naruto did not know it, but news traveled faster than his own walking speed in Konoha, and news of the QB container's return was apparently at least twice so quickly spread. Apparently, the medicine that had scarred Naruto's cheeks had spread the word of her accomplishment to the villagers, giving them the knowledge to easily identify the QB container on sight. Nearly 6 years away did little to dissipate Konoha's hatred towards QB. Recap. She used the solution on the scalpel to stop the blood from clotting, and another to stain the skin, even when I heal it. It looks like a damn whisker tattoo, except I can't remove it like one. I'd be impressed if I weren't so disgusted. End recap. Relax, Naruto-chan, Tsunade repeated. If anyone tries to hurt you, I can kick their asses easy. Spying the obvious tension in the bald fist his adopted mother kept at her right side, Naruto was not sure whether she was trying to address his feelings, or her own. While there wasn't much that scared a woman like Tsunade, there was a lot that pissed her off, and seeing the villagers of Konoha gossip and glare was one of those things that really, really pissed her off. Shizen trailed behind her, obviously annoyed mentor silently. Disgust and concern were welling up slowly inside her, though her face tried to remain carefully neutral. That was her precious those villagers were glaring at, but it was her childhood home that was doing the glaring. What should she feel at a time like this? I knew this was a bad idea. Tsunade muttered spitefully under her breath. At least we're here. Naruto looked at the building of their destination. No, make those buildings. Before them, there was a large wooden fence, clearly cutting off the district within from the surrounding one. Two wide-eyed, pupil-less guards stood rigidly straight, and at attention to each side of the arch that signaled the main entrance to Konoha's own Hyuga district. A man, standing straighter than the guards, came walking out through that arch to meet them just as the Houou reached the entrance. The event seemed as if he had taken practiced care to arrive at exactly that time. Ah, Tsunade-heim. How good to see you grace Konoha once again with your prescience, the rigid man greeted. Though his sentence was genial enough, not a ghost of a smile filtered across his stony-set face. Please come in for some tea. The Houou are, of course, always welcome at the Hyuga district. Could I ask if you'll be staying long? If the Hyuga's stony expression affected Tsunade at all, she didn't show it. Tea sounds good now, Hayashi. She sighed, while leading the group through the wooden arch that signaled the start of Hyuga territory. Depending on certain things, I may be back for good. By the surprisingly easy exchange between Tsunade and Hayashi, it could indeed be surmised that news of the Houou's arrival had stretched beyond them. The question that was brought up in Naruto's mind was that of why the Hyugas, knowing of their arrival, had basically put out the welcoming mat, as if it were a given. His adopted mother seemed to assume that she'd be welcomed by the Hyugas, as well. He pondered this, as he walked slowly past traditional houses kept immaculately clean and proper on each side, still holding his mother's hand. The one-story structures bespoke of either pride, wealth, or a healthy mix of both. His speculation didn't last long, as he halted it in favor of gawking at the large building that they were being led to enter. Inside, Naruto sat uneasily at the low table, legs folded underneath him. His mother sat beside him. The stone-faced man, who Naruto guessed was his daughter, sat on the opposite side. Ka-chan, he whispered to the side, why did Nei-chan have to wait outside? She's not a Houou, Tsunade answered, as if that explained anything at all. She didn't seem to particularly care that she was carrying on a private conversation in front of their hosts, which were being ignored. So? Naruto prompted, his face screwed up in confusion. Are we some high-class family or something? He asked sarcastically. Tsunade's eyebrow rose delicately, as if to mock such a question. I've adopted you, as my son, you know. That means your great-grandfather was the first Hokage, and founder of Konoha. She reminded me. Your great-granduncle was the second Hokage. Tsunade continued listing flatly. Your grandfather was the most successful apothecary in history, and your beloved Ka-chan is the patron of modern medical theory that doubles as a ninja on the Kage level. Leaning closer, Tsunade peered at her son, as she spoke flatly. So what do you think? Are we a prestigious family? Oh shit! Naruto hadn't thought of it like that. Everyone knew that his adopted mother was the first Hokage's granddaughter, but he never paid it any mind. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit! His great-grandfather founded the damn village. His mother's work had saved thousands of important lives. He had a damn legacy to uphold. Were his clothes straight enough? Were they white enough? Did he comb his hair today? Did he ever comb his hair? Crap, he didn't. Quick, look noble. Seeing her poor adopted son sweat bullets, and give Hayashi a run for his money in the rigid posture department, Tsunade spoke up. Relax, Naruchan, your great-grandfather made sure we wouldn't become a clan. The Houou's are just a little famous to some people. It's not like you'll have clan head responsibilities or anything. Looking at Naruto, she sighed, seeing her words having little effect. Different tactics. Besides, your great-grandfather would have already been proud of how you've lived your life until now. You don't have to worry, she informed, ruffling Naruto's oddly fluffy hair. Really? He asked dubiously. Yes, really. Tsunade grinned, seeing the tension ease out of Naruto's posture, as he seemed to come to terms with the revelation. Now get back to being the annoying brat I love so much. Naruto, fears abated, now bristled at the tease. Shooting his mother an annoyed look, he scolded her. I'd insult you back, Ka-chan, but our ancestors up in heaven would be disappointed if I sunk to your level, he informed me factually. Then pointedly ignored his mother's prescience altogether, and turned to his host. Could I please have a cup of tea, as well, Hayashi-sama? Hayashi, similarly ignoring Tsunade's insulted expression, motioned for his daughter to begin pouring the tea. Of course, Naruto-sama. Wait. Tsunade interrupted, having recovered from Naruto's backhanded insult. You brat, what did you say about sinking to my level? With his mother's arms suddenly wrapped around his neck, Naruto's head was pulled in close to her ample chest in a headlock. It was a position many men dreamed of, but Naruto only knew fear. Let go of me, you barbarian. Alright, that did it. Vengeful mother's secret technique. Noogie of instant humiliation. Gah! There were even hand seals this time. Naruto cried in disbelief before the Nugi session began with a vengeful force. Later, Hayashi had quickly gotten used to tea with the Houous, which was decidedly different from tea with anyone else. They would be the picture of quiet nobility one moment, but were prone to short bursts of rancorous insults, or general tussling. Once whatever argument they suddenly had was just, as abruptly resolved, they instantly returned to their polite and dignified veneers. Seeing this, Hayashi didn't have any major problems with the odd behavior. It was even mildly entertaining. You may not be a clan, Hayashi lectured, but you are a family of greatness. The nobility, ability, and intelligence shown by your forefathers are something that the Hyugas have always respected. They accomplished great things. I see, Naruto mumble. Then you don't mind me being the Kyuubi's container, just because I'm also a Houou? Hayashi took a moment to get over his surprise. The boy revealed his secret status as the Kyuubi container quite easily. Yes. Whatever would be subtracted from you in our eyes is more than made up for in your dignified family name. I understand. Naruto nodded slowly. The Hyuga have a long history with the Houous, Hayashi continued. He felt the need to ease the mind of this child, though he knew not why. I'll say it again, the house will always be welcome at the Hyuga compound. Though for now at least, you two are the last remaining Houous in this life. Naruto was silent. It was a kind offer, to always be welcomed somewhere. A great promise. But whether the rest of the Hyugas would abide by that promise, and if so, to what extent, would have to be seen later. Hayashi-sama, Tsunade prompted over her teacup, I'm going to need to talk to Sarutobi-sensei today. Please look after Naruto for me. Of course, Hayashi responded, as if it were a given. Though that raises a question. Where are you planning to take up residence, Tsunadeheim? Good question. Her old house would be a wreck from over a century of neglect. For the moment, she'd been planning to stay at a hotel. Because Hayashi let in, the house will always be welcome at the Hyuga complex, he informed once again, with a new undertone this time. Tsunade's eyebrow curled upwards, as if to say, you're serious? Thank you, Hayashi-sama. I'll tell Shizen to unpack. An offer without an offer. Nothing new from the Hyugas. She didn't really mind the game of words. The game of putting up fronts to show one's strengths while strategically hiding one's weaknesses. Listening to what is said, and what is not said. Speaking in curves and implications, instead of direct statements. All the while watching your opponent like a hawk, trying to wheedle inside their brains with a wedge of polite inquiry. It was like riding a bike for her. It was easy to play that game even after all this time. But hell, that didn't mean she wanted to get used to it. Didn't mean she wanted Naruto to get used to it either. I'm Kid Tsunade, and I'm standing up. I'll be back later. Yeah, right, Naruto said sarcastically. He stood up as well. I'm coming too. Tsunade made a disgruntled sound. Just sit tight, brat. This is between Sarutobi-sensei and me. I'm leaving Shizen behind too. Just play with Hayashi's daughter or something. Or hell, help your sister unpack. Tsunade breezed past her son. She was halfway through the door when his voice paused her movement. She glanced at him over her shoulder. Naruto's deep cerulean eyes met hers, looking like wells of deep understanding. And why not? He was her precious son, after all. No book-smart genius perhaps, but certainly no one's fool if he could help it. Just tell me the important stuff later, okay? If there's going to be news that concerns me, I want to know about it. Tsunade's eyes flickered to the door, and back to her son. Hayashi spied this, as a sign of quick consideration and forethought. Tsunade let out a breath, not quite a sigh. Fine, brat. If you're sure you can stay awake through it all. I'd like to protect you forever, but that's impossible even for me. I still think you're too young to be protecting yourself, even a little. But you're too young for a lot of the things you've done and dealt with so far. You'll manage, I know, but any mother would worry about what that would do to you, as a person. Naruto watched Hayashi follow through the door after his mother, presumably to show her to the door. He turned to Hayashi's daughter, who was still kneeling dutifully at the tea table. Hey, he began, but stopped short. Blinking, he realized that throughout one solid hour of polite conversation with side orders of tea and arguments, he hadn't ever gotten her name. He shook the oddity off. Hi, my name's Houou Naruto, he proclaimed. Whatever, he just reintroduced himself. The little girl stuttered. She was being put in the spotlight? She was deathly afraid of being the center of attention. She had quickly learned that when she was the center of any attention, she inevitably did something to drive her audience to hidden disgust. Steeling herself, she spoke for one of the few times since Naruto had met her. Hyuga Hinata. Cool, let's go play. Hinata was startled by the sudden outburst. Naruto, in turn, shot her a flat look. What was there to be confused about? Did this girl not know how to play? Looking at her, she was pretty small, and dressed in that kimono, she reminded him of a doll. In fact, could she even run in that kimono? Whatever. He continued to drag the Hyuga heiress into the garden area. Let's play hide, and seek. Hyuga Complex, Central Garden. Naruto had someone to play with, as well as a place that would let him stay indefinitely in a village that might just end up being his home for a long time. Taking care to keep an eye out for signs of unacceptance from the Hyugas, he found none. Could he really stay here, and not be glared at? Very cool. Things were looking up. Okay, I'll be at first. You just go hide, and I'll count to 20 over by that big tree, okay? Go! Hyuga Complex, Interior. From an overlooking window at her bedside, Hyuga Hayatari gazed upon her daughter happily. It was both unprecedented that she would have a new friend, and that she would be playing in the main garden with that new friend. Slowly she felt her heart bubble with a relieved happiness that rose through her chest, and, upon reaching her eyes, brought tears thereof. She let them fall, and the happiness remained with her, even as the scene gradually disappeared behind a descending curtain of darkness. She would be afraid that the world was fading away from her view so unstoppably, but for now there was a very clear image of her daughter running around for a place to hide, and with that warm thought to cloak her mind with, fear could not touch her, for now. Hyuga Complex, Central Garden. Ha! Found you! Naruto declared victoriously. He pointed a finger at the Hyuga heiress, and grinned. It's your turn to do it now. He hadn't played this game in a while. It was a good game. Hinata started hesitantly, still crouched behind her bush. Did I fail? What? Naruto blinked. Fail? What are you talking about? He seemed to take a while to seriously muse this over. Is it possible to fail hide and seek? I don't think so, he mused briefly. No, he concluded. It's not possible to fail hide and seek. I'm pretty sure it's just a game. I didn't fail? Hinata asked, almost hesitantly. Naruto just shot her a look. Stop asking silly questions, already. You can fail to play well, but you can't fail hide and seek. You play it for fun. You're having fun, right? After a brief period of consideration, hesitantly, Hinata shook her head. The hell? Naruto exclaimed loudly. You're not having fun? He asked incredulously. The concept itself took a while to sink in. You fail. Completely. Put more effort into it. Hinata eeped, and scurried over to the tree Naruto had been at earlier. Now count. Naruto demanded, reminiscent of a drill sergeant. 1, 2 Hinata stuttered, diligently covering her eyes with both hands. No, Naruto ground out. Count like you mean it. 1. Hinata cried. 2. From a carefully unnoticeable location off to the side, Hayashi watched the exchange with a piqued interest. 16 counts later. 19. 20. Hinata finished. She looked around. It was her turn to find Naruto. Tentatively beginning her search, Hinata sheepishly checked several bushes only to find nothing. But wait! A gleeful snicker alerted her to what was probably Naruto's location. Behind her, Hinata's mouth fell slightly open in a show of surprise. Naruto's eyes were gleaming victoriously, as he clung harshly onto the one tiny, lone branch he'd managed to get up to. Odd thing was, the branch was on the big tree that was being used as the counting spot. He'd hid behind the very tree Hinata had started counting at. He'd hid where no sane person would ever expect him to be. He was so clever. Devious, in fact. He could not contain his glee, and cackled out loud. Naruto-sama, I found, Hinata informed. What? Naruto paused his cackling. How? He demanded, still hanging from the tree branch with both hands. You snickered, Hinata mumbled, embarrassed and hesitant. And then you cackled evilly. Damn, Naruto swore. It's always the cackle. Crack. Naruto needn't have concerned himself. If his snicker hadn't alerted Hinata to his presence, the much-abused tree branch snapping, which he'd been hanging from for some 5 minutes, would have. Now Naruto rubbed his sore posterior. My super sly, devious plan of great sneakiness ruined, he lamented openly, and with great enthusiasm. If only he could walk up the tree with chakra like his adopted mother and sister. Not for the first time, he cursed his inability to do so. The chakra control exercise somehow managed to elude him to this day. Hinata, frankly, didn't know what to say. Oh well, Naruto perked up. Moving along. What? It's my turn to be it now, Naruto informed me. You're not mad? Hinata asked timidly. Huh. I found out that Hinata stuttered. Would he be angry? Naruto looked at her. Really looked at her, and Hinata suddenly felt as if those blue eyes were far deeper than she'd ever remembered them being. Did you have fun? Naruto asked softly. Yes? Hinata blinked, having been surprised by her own words. When had she started having fun? She didn't know. Somewhere between counting from the number 16 to 17, she'd stopped stuttering. Somewhere between seeing Naruto snicker and then cackle, she'd learned to trust him. He really did only want to have fun. And he only wanted her to have fun too. She could trust him not to look down at her with disappointed eyes. She somehow felt very, very sure of that. Well, as long as you're having fun then no, I'm not mad, he grinned, eyes glinting. Hinata had to squeeze her eyes shut because at that moment, the sun had seemed to kiss his hair, seeming to make him shine in its golden light, just for a second. Okay, I'm going to count. Be ready for it. 1, 2. Hinata broke out of her daze, and eat bed before scurrying off to find somewhere to hide. She did not know it, but a small, childish smile slipped onto her lips. 19, 20. Ready or not, Hinata-sama, here I come. Oh make. Shizen's nose twitched. Instantly, she dropped the insanely large scroll that contained her mentor's backup supply of sake. Her eyes crossed comically, as she peered at the twitching nose intently. It was her secret weapon against the forces of evil. Over the years, she'd found that whenever her precious was being corrupted or swearing more than was forgivable, her nose would twitch. It was her equivalent of a sixth sense, but oh, so much more reliable. Now how she always managed to get from wherever she was to wherever Naruto was quickly enough to stop the proceedings, well, that was just a damn mystery. Zoom! Naruto swore openly, causing his playmate to blanch and cover her mouth in shock. He continued. He'd fallen from the damn tree for the 6th time, and this time he fell on a large rock. He was going to have to numb the pain with a... How ridiculous was that? Taking a deep breath, he was on the verge of beginning another lengthy list of swear words he'd picked up from his adopted mother. It was then that the temperature plummeted. Oh shit. He spun just in time to see Shizen tower above him, and Naruto could swear he could almost see the outline of either an undertaker or an incensed legal court judge. "Tiu," she bellowed darkly. Oh boy, Shizen was pissed. It was all that damn rock's fault. Angrily, he glared at the offending object, which only sat there innocently, of course. In his mind, he cursed it, and promised to haunt it from beyond the grave. I can't believe that you... The horror! Naruto's mind screamed out in suffering, as he had no choice but to sit through what must have been his adopted sister's own personal version of hell. For 2 solid hours, he lectured angrily. How she could even keep yelling at him for that amount of time was yet another mystery that would remain unsolved for all time. But alas, his weak heart. He could not run. His love for his sister added a dull sting to her words, and kept him chained firmly in place, the bond stronger than steel. Damn that rock! Even now it still sat there, playing the innocent. Its blank surface mocked him, his numbed mind insisted. It mocked him. 2 hours later, Naruto kneeled, panting. His mind was numb, and his energy was somehow exhausted just from living through that hell. Such terrifying power. His adopted sister's rant was something that should be classified as an S-rank technique. Nothing could stop its terrible might. Shizen let loose a long, resigned sigh. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, she admitted. She looked at it too. I was too hard on you, forgive me? Having just lived through hell, Naruto was tempted not to forgive her so easily. Alas, his weak heart. It's okay, Nei-chan. I'm sorry too. I just fell on this rock, and where normal kinds might say ow 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 ow, or make hissing, pain noises without consciously wanting to, Naruto had been exposed to large amounts of swearing, on purpose. And so ow 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 was replaced by colorful expletives of varying degrees of inappropriateness. Naruto proceeded to reiterate his tale. And afterwards, Shizen nodded emphatically. She knew where the true blame lay. She felt slightly ashamed for exploding on her precious like that, though she knew it wasn't really his fault. She couldn't help herself. The true culprit was not somewhere that she could currently scold her at. But of course, it was only a matter of time until Tsunade returned home to commence with the real scolding. I'll make it up to you, Naruto-kun, I promise. How about you two take a break for some ramen? Ah, wonderful, sweet Shizen. Was it any wonder he could not have run away? Come on, Hinata-chan, we'll have a ramen eating contest, he proclaimed. CH-chan? Hinata stuttered, voice small. It had just gone from Sama straight to Chan. Well, Naruto scratched the back of his head. We already play together, right? I can't keep calling you Hinata-sama. Hinata rolled over this idea in her head. It didn't necessarily seem normal, but Naruto clearly had his own way of seeing things. Then Naruto-kun? Yeah? Nothing, I just wanted to say your name, Hinata mumbled, overcome with a blush. That hadn't sounded right at all. Is kun okay? Of course. I already told you to stop asking silly questions, didn't I? Hey Hinata-chan, Naruto mumbled one afternoon. Hinata turned from her calligraphy. Merely another of those things that she was expected to practice, and like it. Yes? Well, Naruto scratched the back of his head. An act that his friend had quickly discerned, as a sign of mild embarrassment. It's been bothering me for a while, but it's just that well. Was this really Naruto? Hinata could scarcely reconcile the hesitant undertone in her new friend's voice with the loudly outspoken youth that she'd gotten to know over the past weeks. In a way, Finding that even Naruto could sound like this gave her hope for herself. She smiled a little at the prospect. What is Naruto-kun? Naruto took a deep breath. Do or die time. As if a great dam busted within him, Naruto's next words blurted forwards. Why do you have such weird eyes? Thud! Sounded Hinata's brush. As it met with the floor, the heiress's easy hold on it failed after the arm holding it, still raised in the fourth stroke of her kanji, fell loosely to her side. The long, ruining mark of ink that was dragged behind went unseen, as Hinata stared at Naruto, her silhouette frozen in shock. Sorry, Naruto apologized, feeling he'd crossed some kind of line. I shouldn't have asked? It's obviously some mistaken mutation beyond your control and well, anyways, they're not that weird really. And noting that Hinata's form wasn't getting any less statue-like, Naruto was starting to panic. He'd broken her. Shizen was right. Girls really were sensitive to these things. Sorry? He tried. Naruto-kun, you really don't know about. Once more regressing to stuttering, whatever Hinata was attempting to convey was interrupted by a newcomer. Hinata-sama, Naruto-sama, am I interrupting anything? A white-eyed boy asked politely, as he entered the room. Naruto silently thanked the stranger for giving him a legitimate way out of the awkward situation. Ah hee. No, not really, Naruto replied. What's up? My father has asked me to test your mettle. Niji almost said aloud, the words of his father yet echoing inside his head. Flashback. Niji, yes father? Hyuga Hisashi trailed a speculative eye over his son. His pride. The boy was a genius, there were no two ways around that fact. The child's gift with the Byakugan notwithstanding, he was also a genius in every other aspect, as well. The boy soaked up Juken techniques like a sponge, and his analytical and decision-making skills were far above his level. A true prodigy. He'd none of the failings of Hayashi's daughter, none of the weaknesses. And he was still both polite and kind, a perfect son. Any father would be proud. Perhaps it was the greatest source of pride left in his life. After being allocated to the branch family, and having the accursed seal placed upon his head, his fate had been sealed. Forever was he at the main branch's mercy, his brother's mercy. It was a trend that would continue until his death day. And why? A few seconds difference? They had been twin brothers, equals at one time. He bared his pain silently, but when it became apparent that his offspring had been so much more gifted than his brothers, his pain had increased sevenfold under the weight of his resentment. What could have been taunted him? Niji was so fit to be the next head of the Hyuga. He had everything that Hinata was lacking, and more. Yet he could give his son nothing of what he truly deserved. It was all being given to another. It was almost a joke, a cruel prank played by the gods of fate. And one day soon, Niji too would be branded forever with the curse seal of the branch family. All this he had to bear while pretending that he deserved no better? Niji, are you aware of Tsunade-sama's arrival? The elder Hyuga finally asked. Yes father, I heard about it last week. She has a son only a year younger than you, who has, like you, been training from a young age. I want you to challenge him to a spar. Check his progress. And your own Hayashi smiled. There is no one left to challenge you within your own age group, after all. Hi father, Niji said, smiled, and turned to walk out towards his newest challenge. And Niji Hisashi interrupted. Do your best, for only through you are there any ways to gain victories, small, and neglected though they would be, against the main house, against my brother. Yes father, Niji said, interest was newly dulled. His father's face just now had a hint of something else. A shadowy overcast dwelt within his father's eyes, a signal of a harsh, adult world that existed in one's mind. A world that very few children sought out to bring into their sunny days of open fields and clear skies. I'll do my best. End flashback. Naruto-sama, my name is Hyuga Niji. Niji bowed formally. It's an honor to make your acquaintance. Sure, likewise, Naruto responded. No need for formalities, this guy couldn't be that much older than him, right? What's up? Niji glanced between Naruto, who seemed nervous about something, and Hinata, who seemed dumbfounded by something. Was he really not interrupting anything? I'm here to challenge you to a spar. Hyuga Complex, Central Garden. Hinata could not help but notice the perfection in motion, as Niji took up his stance. His arms were spread out perfectly in front, and behind him, the front arms slanting upwards from the ground, and the arm behind continuing that trend. His weight was resting primarily on his right leg, as his left stretched out before him. Hinata easily noticed the form, as one that could easily flow into either close combat offense or defense. Its only weaknesses were to back attacks, and being surrounded by the foe. It was a favorite for one-on-one battles among the higher-ups on the Hyuga power scale. Naruto, on the other hand, stood loosely with no semblance of form whatsoever. With a sinking feeling, Hinata realized that Naruto had no idea exactly what kind of opponent he was up against. Time passed, as the two combatants stayed neutral in their small, grassy arena. She was just about to give her friend some kind of warning when it happened. The complete silence of the scene was broken, a subtle splash being heard clearly by the combatants. Naruto's eyes tracked the slender blue fish, as it made a small leap out of the small pond it inhabited. His eyes elsewhere, the soft tap, tap, tap of feet was the only warning he received. Naruto's eyes snapped back to his quarry, who had already closed the distance by half. With an internal swear of damn, Naruto's eyes slid shut, as he concentrated on what he could sense of his opponent's chakra in preparation for the first strike. There, Naruto's eyes snapped open, his body already sidestepping the open-handed strike of his opponent. But it was not possible for Juken to overextend or leave the user suffering from any significant recovery time due to his own failed attacks, and Naruto found himself with no room for a counter-attack, as the succession of offensive blows continued. His eyes were telling him one thing, but his chakra sense was saying something significantly different. When forced to choose between the two, his decision hadn't taken a second. Naruto bent his knees, and batted away the striking arm from inside Niji's guard. All he could immediately tell was that those fingers were dangerous. Niji was trapped somewhere between excitement, terror, and complete awe. Never before had he ever heard of someone choosing to dodge the opening move with his eyes closed, and then step inside their opponent's guard in order to launch an effective defense. But his strikes were being batted away, as quickly as he could launch them, with such impossible force that each attempt ended in his striking arm being thrown wide. The speed, the precious speed, of his assault suffering, as a result. It was perhaps the only reason that Naruto's unexceptional taijutsu skill could keep up with his own offense, and Niji had no choice but to stay on the offense. It was either that or go on the defensive against the raw power that Naruto displayed while inside his guard. Hinata watched in a kind of horrified awe. Naruto's thought process was a confused frenzy. His attention was not split evenly between combat and tactical analysis. It swung, like an erratic pendulum, between concentrating fully on countering what, to him, seemed like lightning-fast blows, and trying to figure some way out of this situation. His senses were working overtime. His hearing and chakra sense worked together to alert him to the general angle of attack shortly before the eyes could properly track it, and the rest was a frantic scramble. He'd knock a strike wide away, only to find his opponent's other hand halfway to his shoulder. A shift of the weight, step in again, past those dangerous fingertips, and he could deflect yet another attack in a seemingly never-ending assault. Rinse, dry, repeat. Here's the 10 million ramen packet question: how long could he keep it up? Niji was still struggling to deal with the situation, which was completely unique to his world. He was constantly on the offense, but also constantly on the retreat, backstepping to get the room to launch another quick strike before Naruto once again closed the distance, and defended. He'd been on the offense the entire battle, and had never landed a hit, but arms stung with pain every time Naruto knocked one aside with a raw physical power he may have never seen the likes of, and he was left wondering which would run out first, the strength in his arms, or the space behind him available for retreat. His Byakugan gave him the answer: 2 steps of space left. Niji struck out with his left, the strike getting batted away like all the others. This time, Niji went with it. The spinning sweep kick caught Naruto completely by surprise, as he was sent falling backwards. Naruto struggled to keep his feet underneath him. He landed in a crouch rather than on his back, and sprung back to his feet. More surprising, Niji had come out of his sweeping kick into a stance that reminded him frighteningly of a coiled spring ready to release. Juken! The Hyuga prodigy landed 5 strikes on his opponent's torso. He hadn't the strength remaining in him to continue the combo, but rather than go on the defensive, Niji ended in a thrusting palm strike that sent Naruto sprawling backwards, and out of counterattack range. Options like that were what made Juken one of the most feared taijutsu styles in the world. Knocked off his feet once more, Naruto struggled back to his feet, and slowly backstepped to increase the distance from his opponent. Something was wrong. His chakra sense was telling him something was definitely wrong. With a sinking feeling, all the pieces came together. Naruto's eyes were disbelieving, as he pulled down the collars of his jacket and shirt with his left hand to see the slight red points of inflation below his collarbone. No way, you closed me? As the realization sunk in, Naruto could feel the moisture in his eyes, as he tried to blink the tears back. You can form needles of chakra on your fingertips. Can you even sense the location of, and close them? His opponent suddenly seemed 10 times more skilled than he had previously. The level of chakra control, and chakra sense to perform such things could only be imagined. Naruto didn't even feel his jealousy. It was washed away in a sea of anger, some for his opponent, but most of it directed towards himself. This stranger was so far above him in his own field. "D-damn it!" The words broke free from his emotionally choked throat, as Naruto's left hand struck into the ground with all his frustration. What have I been doing all this time? The small tremor of the ground, as he struck it, went unnoticed by the blonde, as he didn't bother to remove his hand from its imprint in the earth, or get up out of his kneel by it. I've been working so hard, but you dash. Naruto's anger faded, not knowing what to do. All that was left was the pain. The desperation in his voice was evident. Am I really so hopeless after all? I trained all my life, while I was supposed to be asleep, while I was tired, while I was sick. Neji didn't know what to say. Did Naruto not know about Byakugan or Juken? It seemed impossible, but at the same time, the only explanation that made sense. What about Juken could have such an effect on the golden-haired youth? He tried to say something, but he couldn't find the words. Naruto-sama Niji's eyes widened, as a stray thought grabbed his attention, and wouldn't let go. If Naruto didn't know about the Juken, then how? Can you sense the form of my chakra, as I use Juken? To be able to sense something like that, such an accomplishment at such an age? It was not completely unbelievable, but to actually encounter such a thing. Don't look down on me, Naruto growled, as he stood angrily, his rage back with a vengeance. Even if you're better, do you think that I can't even manage something like that? Don't get so high and mighty, you bastard. Who the hell do you think I am? Neji was more aware of the stinging in his arms than ever. He tried to raise them into the stance he'd used at the start of the battle, but the pain gave him pause. It was then that his first-class sight caught movement on one of the surrounding rafters. A shift of cloth. Father? Neji bit back the pain, as he shifted his body into the open swallow stance for the second time that morning. Picture perfection once again. It was then that Naruto finished his angered speech, accenting the last word with the beginning of his thunderous charge, running full tilt towards Niji's location, do or die written in his eyes. Steeling himself, Neji sprinted forwards, as well. The distance quickly closed, and Neji struck out with his right hand an open palm strike to Naruto's left shoulder, but the strike only met with Naruto's own palm. Another shock registered in Niji's mind. His opponent had just chosen to sacrifice almost every one in his left palm. The reason why became apparent, as the fingers quickly curled around his own, locking his arm in place. Oarida, Naruto's angered growl of "this is the end," was the only warning Neji received before he was yanked forwards by the right arm, the one Naruto had locked in place. As his opponent bent his knees, and slammed an already cocked back fist into his unguarded torso. The impact itself was such that it produced an audible book, and sent Neji sailing into the large tree behind him, upon which, the Hyuga child's flight was abruptly ended, and the boy slumped down at the base of the tree, doubtful of his prospects of getting up to rejoin the fight again. Neji glanced up to see his opponent already standing before him, left hand hanging limply by his side, all but useless, the right hand still clenched tightly in a fist. It's my loss, that Hyuga consented, his mind still reeling from the blow. But even as his mind reeled, it demanded that his opponent's right fist deserved further attention. Externally, first-degree burns, and internally, though he'd only closed the in Naruto's left hand, the chakra lines in the blonde's right hand had nonetheless been damaged by something. Perhaps it had to do with the bright flash his Byakugan detected just before impact? Neji deactivated the Byakugan, and struggled to get up, and converse with the victor properly. Naruto-sama, stay still, Naruto interrupted, as he kneeled down, his anger exhausted for the time being. I've broken one of your ribs. I can do the bandaging and binding, but my chakra coils are too damaged to do the rest. It'll be up to Nei-chan. Tsunade didn't personally heal anyone unless it was Naruto, one of the injured animals Naruto brought home, or she was being paid a lot. You know, Naruto said reluctantly, as he removed Niji's undershirt, and placed his right hand on his chest, slowly leaking his chakra into the injured boy's system, seeking out the broken rib that was doubtlessly floating around in his patient's chest area. With your skills, Niji-san, you could make. Naruto struggled to force the admission past his lips, a great medic name. Maybe, the best of our generation. Neji winced, bracing for the pain that he was sure would come. He was happily disappointed. Blinking, he noticed that though the feeling of something moving around inside his chest was quite strange, it was no more painful than being pinched by marshmallows. Now that the match was over, Hinata had scurried over to her friend's side, looking at her cousin with some concern. Noticing that Neji was strangely alright, despite having a broken rib, she turned to her friend, and the issue that seemed to trouble him so. Naruto-kun, you really don't know about the Byakugan? Our eyes. What followed was a 10-minute eye-opener about the Hyuga, and just what made them the most prominent clan in Konoha. It was Naruto's first personal encounter with a bloodline limit, and it shook his world. The concept of such power being attained simply due to one's heritage felt wrong on many levels to the boy, who'd worked his hardest for every scrap of ability he'd ever acquired. Naruto sat quietly, A significant change for him to say the least. He was contemplating what he'd just been told, but his reverence was soon broken. Oi brat! Ha, Ka-chan? Tsunade came to stand in front of Naruto, who stood up to meet her, glancing slightly at Niji's prone form out of the corner of her eye. Tsunade formed 7 hand seals too quickly for the children to follow, and slapped her palm onto Niji's chest, and slipped a post-it note onto his forehead, read, "No strenuous exercise, 2 weeks," in a very "I'm barely paying attention to what I'm doing" attitude. The whole time, she hadn't looked away from her son. Niji blinked. Today was an odd day. He kept meeting godly medics. Tsunade-sama, arigato, whatever, kid. You're healed, so get out of here already, and make a shuing gesture. You too, Hinata, I need to talk to the kid. The 2 Hyugas were quick to comply. They knew not to mess with the woman. Soon the mother and son pair were alone. So Tsunade took up her son's right hand in both of hers, and examined it. You used it? Naruto's gaze fell to his feet. Yes, he mumbled, but I still can't do it properly. Look at me, Naruto-chan, Tsunade demanded. Don't underestimate that technique's difficulty. Even Sharingan masters have tried to copy it, and failed. You'll be the second person in history to use it, because you're the only one I've taught it to. Even Nei-chan can't? The mother shook her head. Her voice took on the patient explanatory tone that all good mothers keep in reserve. Shizen just wants to be a medic nin. If she never sees another battlefield, she'll be happy. So what does she need freakish strength for? Besides, she was my apprentice, and you're my heir. There is a difference. Naruto chuckled, almost embarrassed. Moving right along, Tsunade came to the main reason she was out here. Anyway, I came to talk to you, kid. Me and Shizen will be working on a tough case for a few weeks, so you probably won't see us around. Tough case? Naruto echoed. Hinata's mother. Naruto was shocked and concerned all at once. What? That's horrible. You have to do something. I have to do something. Does Hinata-chan know? We need to do something. Shut up, Tsunade yelled, pounding her fist into the top of her adopted son's head. Calm down already, you noisy brat. You're giving me a headache. Yes, it's horrible. I am doing something. You don't get to help. Hinata knows, and no, we don't need to do anything. But I somehow got stuck agreeing to help her. What? Naruto deadpanned. You owe her money? Pound. Naruto peeled himself off of the floor again. You know, I could file for both child abuse and malpractice. He glared. I'm still injured, damn it. Restrain yourself, woman. Twack. You would almost think Naruto was going for some kind of obscure record. Oh, you're no help at all, he complained. I'll heal my own painfully injured hands, thank you very much. Oh, shut up, you insolent brat. Keep your mouth closed, and you'll live longer. Naruto, opting to avoid further punishment for now, sighed, and dropped the argument. So how did you get stuck agreeing to help Hinata-chan's mom? Tsunade dropped the argument, as well. Hi, she groveled, and she shrugged. A lot. And I knew you'd blow up at me if I turned it down. Besides, I wouldn't call her my friend, but she's an acquaintance, at least. Naruto said nothing. His mind had frozen, as Hayashi groveled. Wasn't that an oxymoron or something? He was sure there was some rule that you couldn't use Hayashi and grovel in the same sentence. Tsunade hadn't let go of her son's injured hand yet. She bent down at the waist, and looked the boy in the eye seriously. That's right, Naruto-chan, he groveled, pitifully. He broke down, and cried, she clarified pointedly. This is also an important lesson of being a medic nin, don't forget it. It doesn't matter how strong they are on the battlefield, because when their family, friends, or loved ones are on the hospital bed, they can't do a damn thing to help. Fathers, mothers, sisters, and lovers will turn to you to keep the light in their lives, and their loved ones by their sides. Do you understand? Naruto nodded slowly. When his mother said it like that, the concept of the stony-faced Hyuga groveling was not so hard to believe. Tsunade sighed regretfully. You're not going to be just a medic nin, Naruto-chan. You're going to be the son and heir of the legendary Tsunade, miracle healer. The medic nin that can cure anything. People have that image of me, Naruto-chan, and they'll expect the same of you once your training is over. The worst cases that everyone else would give up on will be brought to you, and you'll be expected to do something about it. Naruto nodded. I get it. Yet another dimension was added to the idea of being a medic nin. Layers upon layers, there were always new aspects to consider. Good. Tsunade placed a light kiss on her adopted son's forehead. Let's go inside and treat that injury of yours. Yen. Naruto agreed, and as the mother-son pair headed inside, a question bred of his insecurities popped into Naruto's head. Hey, Ka-chan? Do you know anyone that became strong without a special ability? Tsunade raised an eyebrow questioningly. Of course, they said, as she slowly traced her index finger through the air. For a second, Naruto thought his adopted mother would point at herself, but the finger kept moving along its course, and pointed off to the distance. Squinting against the glare of the afternoon sun, Naruto gulped, as the finger came to rest while clearly pointing towards the rightmost corner of the Hokage monument, clearly visible even from this distance. Well, there's always your biological father. Yondaime certainly started out with no special talent at all. Tsunade smirked. And of course, there's one more that comes to mind. Yeah? Who? Using the same index finger, Tsunade poked her son's forehead playfully. Don't sell yourself short, brat. It doesn't suit you. Whatever, Naruto blustered. Scene change. Father, I've returned, Neji announced, entering his father's room. I see, and the results? Hisashi asked in an all-business tone. Neji shook his head. A complete loss on my part. Naruto-sama's fighting is incredible. It's as if he does not know fear. His tactics were swiftly made, and executed without any hesitation at all. He did not flinch once, despite the dangerous situations he put himself in. The white-eyed boy paused briefly to collect the words for his next sentence. His senses were razor-sharp, and his power was overwhelming. Though it's strange, his taijutsu skill itself was very basic. But in the end, I was disabled with a single blow. Neji couldn't stand it. He focused on the floor, too ashamed to look his father in the face. Hisashi sighed through his nose. That was just another reason to be proud of his son. He never made excuses. You fought well, the father recounted factually. It's just that sometimes your best isn't enough, the man almost said aloud. But Hisashi would restrain himself from disenchanting his son's childhood. He was his precious son, after all. You're young yet, Neji. The hand fate has in store for you has barely yet been revealed. That in mind, continue to work hard. Hi! The boy instantly beamed. He'd make his father proud. But father, Naruto-sama's last move still puzzles me. Ah, Hisashi sounded understanding. So you caught that with your Byakugan? It was the secret technique of Tsunadeheim herself, which combines with her physical strength to produce a monstrous impact. Maximum amounts of chakra is molded, and then concentrated in the fist, and released in an instant. You should understand that the version Naruto-sama used was incomplete, and the power was weakened, and he injured himself. If Tsunadeheim used that technique in her prime, even Hokage-sama would have trouble surviving a single blow. It is no shameful loss, and while you have suffered defeat for the first time against a peer, you've also gained an acquaintance. In fact, I believe I hear him outside right now. Neji glanced, stood, and looked out the near window. Indeed, Naruto was once more playing hide-and-seek with Hinata. Hisashi smiled. Why don't you join them? Even if it meant spending time with Hayashi's daughter. Hisashi's Byakugan did not lie. And right now he could see clearly for the first time in a long time that he'd been pushing Neji far too hard lately. Neji blinked. Really? Hi. Oh, make. There was always, of course, Naruto's outfit, and the story behind it. Tsunade mused, observing her adopted son with a critical eye. Yes, it will do. Naruto stood in front of a full-sized mirror, looking thoroughly miserable in his new long-sleeved jacket and unadorned pants. He felt stifled. He felt so uninteresting. Ka-chan, what the hell is this? It's seriously restricting. Tsunade snorted. Wait until I write the movement restricting genjutsu onto it. Head, bring it on. Naruto only replied arrogantly. Naruto-kun, your arrogance is showing, Shizen chastised kindly. Ah, Naruto responded, properly scolded. Looking at the outfit he was wearing, it was no wonder Naruto felt stifled. The long-sleeved jacket may not have been thick or particularly hot, considering how closed up it seemed fashion-wise, but the color scheme left a lot to be desired in his eyes. It was pure white. And those painfully plain pants? Pure white. He was surprised they hadn't bleached his hair yet. Could he not get some color over here? A splash of blue? Even a measly speck? Oh, what he wouldn't do for some orange right now. Dash. I look like a geek, Naruto cried. A complete geek? What are you talking about? Tsunade demanded. It looks good on you. Yes, Naruto-kun, Shizen placated, you look scholarly. The cool, intellectual kind of scholarly? Naruto sniffed. Or the geeky, doesn't know how to have fun, and is always reading a book kind of scholarly? Well, Shizen's hesitation wasn't helpful to her case. I knew it! Naruto screamed in vindication. I look like a geek. Oh, stop complaining! Tsunade yelled. She'd had those clothes made especially for him. How dare he? Oh, just leave me alone! Naruto yelled. My life is already over, he cried. It wasn't enough for you to put that girly seal on my head, was it? He demanded. You just had to dress me up like a geek too. You're still complaining about that? It's been 3 years already. Get over it, Tsunade demanded. That seal is for Genesis regeneration. Grow up, and accept it. Shizen felt like crying. It was not just clothes, the argument was starting to branch out into other areas now, as well. They were making such a scene. Genesis regeneration is fine, and all, Naruto grudgingly admitted. but it turns into a diamond. A girly little diamond. At least make it a frog or a slug or something. Tsunade looked like she was going to be sick. And you want me to listen to your fashion sense? You idiot brat. If you had your way, our house would be one big, orange, animal farm. Stop insulting the color orange. Naruto demanded fervently. Orange is stupid. Tsunade yelled down at her son adamantly, and with an alarming display of immaturity. Orange is ugly. 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 It really is the ugliest color in the world. Gah! Naruto shook his fist. At least my fashion sense doesn't make me look geeky. It's scholarly, you idiot! Tsunade shouted back. At least my fashion sense doesn't make you look like a pumpkin. Grr, Naruto growled. How could you do this to me, Ka-chan? I'm telling you, I really hate these clothes, he yelled loudly. Tsunade flinched. You idiot! I spent 2 hours picking out the design myself, she yelled angrily. The two locked in an intense glaring contest. Both seemed hurt that the other wouldn't understand their feelings on the subject. Soon, the glares broke, and the pair, oddly, left the store in silence after paying for Naruto's outfit. Shizen trailed worriedly behind. Scene change. Shizen was worried. The two hadn't spoken much since their argument at the store. Surely, it wasn't unusual for them to fight or argue. They did it all the time. But this time seemed strangely different. Shizen could almost feel the pressure of unsaid words hanging in the air, as if it were a tangible force. Naruto walked into the living room, towel draped over his shoulders, and hair wet. Looking up from the medical scroll she'd been reading, Tsunade spotted Naruto, and his appearance visibly surprised her. What are you doing, brat? She asked evenly. If you just take a shower to get clean, don't wear the dirty clothes from before. It's common sense. Naruto looked down at his plain, white, geeky outfit. Well, I just got it today, right? It's not really dirty. So Naruto paused, so I'll just wear it again. It's not really that geeky anyway, I guess. Tsunade didn't know what to say. Yeah? Well, good, she seemed somehow uncomfortable. Though thinking about it, a brat like you loves to wear holes in your clothes. We should probably go shopping again tomorrow or something, she mumbled. Maybe even grab 1 or 2 orange things. Orange? Naruto asked. Well, if it's 1 or 2. Orange! Naruto repeated, energetically. Now hold on, brat. Tsunade yelled. 1 or 2, I said. Was that it? Shizen mused. Did they want to just say I'm sorry? You actually have a point? She chuckled. What was she thinking? Sometimes those words were the hardest to say. Either way, as long as those two reconciled already, then everything would be alright. Orange! Naruto screamed with his arms raised gloriously to the ceiling, either just because he was actually that excited, or he simply wanted to piss his mother off more. 1 or 2? Tsunade demanded. 1 or 2, I say. Damn it, she would be heard. Don't you dare get carried away. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.